Chapter 863. Do you really think no one knows who Luo Qingtong is? Su Jinue sneered and walked over with a group of people. She didn't even look at little tyrant Yuan and the others. She's just a daughter of an inferior country. Even if she has some strength and talent, she's nothing more than that. How dare you brag about her so much? Do you really think that senior brother will give you a way out just because she's here? Stop joking. Su Jinue looked very proud and pleased. Senior brother didn't break off the engagement with her just because he pitied her. Who knows what means she used to make senior brother unable to break off the engagement with her. However, as a woman, Luo Qingtong is extremely stupid. She actually helped you deal with senior brother. Does she think that by doing this, senior marshal brother will look at her? Speaking of this, Su Jinue sneered. However, it's useless. Senior brother doesn't like her. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the support of evil Dr. Ghost Eye. This is the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, not the Black Field. As she spoke, she immediately led a group of people and proudly walked past little Overlord Yuan and the others. Lu Long, you will replace them as Heaven Stage students in the future. This is the decision and recommendation of the Dragon Regiment of the Heavenly Palace. It has been approved by the Elders Guild and no one can doubt it. Those who doubt it can go to the Dragon Regiment to argue. See if you have the ability to do so. Hearing Su Jinue's words, Ling Tianhan, who had been lowering his head in shame and guilt, suddenly raised his head. Lu Long. His gaze was fixed on the other party. It was this person who had joined forces with others to break his right hand after he entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. He knew the injury of his hand like the back of his hand. He knew where the injury on his right hand was the deepest. Even if it was healed, it wasn't as strong as the other parts of his hand. Ling Tianhan still remembered the sneer that Lu Long had when he broke his hand and told him that he was the one who came up with the idea of breaking his right hand to restrict the strength of the Ling family. Ling Tianhan, don't think that just because the Ling family has the support of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, you can rest easy. So what if you become the new royal family of the Tianyu Empire? The fifth prince has already set his sights on the Empire of Qin. He would even become an important figure under His Highness King Wu. When I graduate from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin in the future, the Empire of Tianyu can never compare with me. What's more, if the fifth prince is able to stand out in the grand meeting half a year later, even evil Dr. Ghost Eye won't be able to do anything to him. Your Ling family should just wait for his revenge obediently. Today's move is just an appetizer. Lu Long's words flashed through Ling Tianhan's mind, and he almost lost control and rushed over. The latter looked at him and sneered, "What? Ling Tianhan, you're not convinced? Unfortunately, what can you do even if you're not convinced? After tomorrow, you and that Luo Qingtong will be kicked out of the house. I'd like to see how pathetic you are then. It's a pity that Luo Qingtong. She betrayed us and helped others to deal with the fifth prince. If she were here, we would teach her a lesson." Chapter 864. As the group of people spoke, they laughed loudly and proudly walked away in front of Ling Tianhan and the others. Looking at their departing backs, Yuan Hu and the others clenched their fists tightly. These bastards! Once Yuan Mo's revenge was launched, it would cause a huge commotion. Yuan Hu and the others didn't have the strength to fight back. They had just entered the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin to cultivate for a while. He couldn't compare to Yuan Mo's influence and strength in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yuan Hu and the others clenched their fists tightly. It's all because we're too useless. If it weren't for this, they wouldn't have had to endure such humiliation. Furthermore, they had implicated Luo Qingtong and made her the target of ridicule. If they were strong enough and could directly enter the top 100 of the Soaring Dragon list, they wouldn't be afraid of Yuan Mo and the others. No matter how much the Grand Elder of the Sacred Academy valued tradition and rules, he wouldn't order them to drop out. They could even have the right to talk to the mentors of the Sacred Institute like the Heavenly Palace's Dragon Group. Yuan Hu and the others gritted their teeth as they thought about it. He was still not strong enough. He had really lost face for boss. If the boss was here, Yuan Ma and the others wouldn't have any room to be arrogant. Boss, where are you? Have you heard the news? Could he make it back in time? The group of people bit their lips so hard that they bled. They clenched their fists tightly and pinched their fingers hard. There was an indescribable pain and suffering in his heart. There was both hatred and helplessness towards their own lack of strength, as well as worry and fear towards Luo Qingtong. If boss really didn't know about the news and couldn't rush back, thinking of the nasty words and arrogance that Yuan Ma and the others would say when the time came, the group was infuriated. At the same time, Luo Qingtong was also rushing towards the holy capital of the Empire of Qin at an extremely fast speed. Your Highness, do you want to protect Ling Tianhan and the others? In the holy capital of the Empire of Qin, a group of people gathered around Ma Chenyi in the Crown Prince's eastern palace, where the Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin lived. They looked at the dragon of the Empire of Qin. These people were all heaven-grade students from the Heavenly Hall of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin. Every one of them could be ranked in the top 100 of the Heaven ranking of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At this moment, they were all looking at the young man in front of them who was like a clear spring, quietly waiting for his decision. We'll see tomorrow, the elegant young man said slowly. This bet is no longer just about Yuan Ma wanting to make a move against the Ling siblings. It is also a battle between the elders of the Sacred Academy and the Grand Supreme Dean's faction. At the same time, his expression was indifferent. It's also because of the fight between me and Mo Chenxian. As Ma Chenyi said this, his eyes narrowed slightly. The cold light that was faintly discernible within them did not reveal itself. Most of the elders in the academy supported Mo Chenxian. As for the Grand Supreme Dean's faction, they supported him. Although the first elder of the Sacred Academy didn't support anyone, he still abided by tradition. Now it was obvious that he was being used as a weapon to attack the Grand Supreme Dean. After the Grand Supreme Dean was defeated, the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin would be completely under the control of the elders of the Sacred Academy. At that time, many students in the Sacred Academy would become Mo Chenxuan's followers. As the king of martial arts of the Empire of Qin, what did Mo Chenxian lack the most after his rise? Connections and power, and a background that was enough to compete with him. Once he controlled the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, all of these would no longer be a problem. Those students who graduated from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin were all outstanding figures in the Sacred Dynasty. Chapter 865. Except for a few peerless geniuses, all the powerhouses and ministers in the Empire of Qin came from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. If Mo Chenxian controlled the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, his power and foundation would be able to compete with Ma Chenyi. Therefore, it was no longer a question of whether Ma Chenyi could protect Ling Tianhan and the others. The question was that the Elders Association would definitely not allow him to protect them. If he had to protect them, there was only one way. That was, the Grand Dean had to take the blame and resign, admitting that he had made a mistake this time. In the future, he would not interfere with anything in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At the same time, as the disciple of the Grand Dean, the Dean had to accept some punishment. However, in this way, the Grand Dean's power would completely collapse in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Without the Grand Dean, the Dean and the others could not withstand the pressure from the Elders Association. Therefore, Ma Chenyi could not make up his mind at all. The best way is that Luo Qingtong can come back smoothly. It would be best if she could win the bet. In this case, they could suppress the Elders Association of the Saint Academy. However, Ma Chenyi did not know whether Luo Qingtong could do it. After all, 3 days was really too short. If he guessed right, she should have gone back to the Chu after leaving the Empire of Tianyu. In such a short time, even if she received the news immediately, how could she come back immediately? Just as Ma Chunyi was thinking about this, he suddenly received a message. After reading that piece of news, Mo Chunye's elegant eyes suddenly burst out with an incomparably strong light. After noon tomorrow, if Luo Qingtong can't come back in time, try your best to protect her and the people around her. At all costs. He said in a low voice and crushed the message. It was sent by the Grand Supreme Dean. The message said that if Luo Qingtong couldn't make it back in time, he would lower his head to the Elders Guild and admit his mistake. He would protect the qualifications of Luo Qingtong and the people around her and ask Ma Chunyi for help. The Grand Principal actually had to make such a choice. He would rather lose his reputation in order to protect Luo Qingtong and the others. It must be known that with the prestige of the Grand Principal, even if Luo Qingtong couldn't make it back in time, no one could do anything to him. At most, some of his rights would be reduced. Now, he made such a choice because he wanted to exchange the Grand Supreme Dean's bloodline for Luo Qingtong and the others to stay in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Ma Chunye's estimation of Luo Qingtong was already high enough, but he didn't expect that the Grand Dean would be willing to make such a sacrifice for Luo Qingtong. Was that gorgeous and wanton girl really worth the Grand Dean's sacrifice? Ma Chunyi remembered the scene he saw in the imperial palace of the Empire of Tianyu. The girl was dressed in red, dazzling and domineering. Perhaps, she was really worth the Grand Supreme Dean using his bloodline to exchange for her? What? Your Highness. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Then, after knowing that this was the Grand Supreme Dean's decision, they suddenly fell silent. But their hearts were entangled with strong doubts. They didn't know what kind of ability Luo Qingtong and the others had that was worth the Grand Supreme Dean doing this. It must be known that this meant that the Grand Supreme Dean's bloodline was completely abolished. Under such circumstances, the Grand Supreme Dean still wanted to protect Luo Qingtong and the others. Chapter 866. Everyone thought so, their hearts were filled with doubt and dissatisfaction. Soon, the next day arrived. It was also the last day of the 3-day agreement. If Luo Qingtong couldn't come back after noon, she would be expelled from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, along with the other students who came from the Tianyu Academy. First Elder was sure that Luo Qingtong couldn't come back. He wanted to let the students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin know that the rules of the Saint Academy couldn't be violated, so he called all the students here. Almost all the students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin gathered in the square of the Saint Academy, except for those who went out to practice and those who were in seclusion. Yuan Hu and the others stood in the center of the square. First Elder led the members of the Saint Academy and stood not far in front of them. The Grand Dean led the Dean of the Saint Academy and the others to the left of Yuan Hu and the others. The other places were filled with the students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yuan Mo, Su Jinhua, and the others stood not far from First Elder and the others. Yuan Mo was accompanied by Lu Long and the others, as well as some disciples of the Saint Dynasty of the Empire of Qin. Seeing Yuan Hu and the others standing in the center of the square, he sneered. They deserve it. We will avenge the royal family of Tianyu. Today's battle is just the beginning. They won't know what despair is until they are expelled from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yuan Mo's face was cold. He looked at the man beside him and said, "Haven't you found out the reason? Why did the Crown Prince suddenly help the Ling family? Why did they go to the Empire of Tianyu?" Yuan Mo said with a gloomy face. He had sent people to deal with the Ling family. He thought it would be easy, but he didn't expect that the Ling family would be uprooted. Not only that, but King Wu's forces were also involved. He got the news that the envoys offended the Princess of Chu. What a joke! How could those people be so stupid as to offend the Princess of Chu? It seemed that the Crown Prince was purposely punishing the envoys. But Yuan Ma was more concerned about why the Crown Prince would suddenly attack. How could it appear in the Tianyu Empire? It said that the crown prince went out with the grand tutor for a walk and happened to pass by the Tianyu Empire. He saw them doing things in the name of the Holy Dynasty. The grand tutor is going to the Tianyu Empire to congratulate the newly crowned princess of Great Chu. That person said. Ridiculous. Yu Wenma's voice was cold. What country is near the Tianyu Empire? How could a princess of the Great Chu appear in a place like the lower, middle, and upper-tier countries? This is clearly just an excuse. Yu Wenma's eyes were clouded. If he guessed correctly, the crown prince and the others were coming for him. Or perhaps, they were aiming for the martial king palace behind him. The Ling family was lucky to have been promoted to a commandery by the crown prince. But so what? The crown prince was already at the end of his rope. Sooner or later, King Wu would become the ruler of the Empire of Qin. At that time, he would have plenty of opportunities to slowly play with the Ling family. It was just a commandery. When he stood out in that grand meeting, not to mention a commandery, even the four holy dynasties would have to treat him with respect. At that time, he would definitely avenge the Tianyu imperial family. He wouldn't even let that evil Dr. Ghost Eye go. Chapter 867. On the other side, the corner of the Grand Supreme Dean's mouth twitched as he looked at the sun that was gradually rising above his head. Luo Qingtong, you little evil doctor, you've really screwed me over. Didn't I tell you not to take so many days off? Why was I so soft-hearted? Great, now I've screwed myself over. Girl, if you come back in the future, you'll have to work hard for me. Otherwise, I'll take the blame and resign unjustly. The Grand Supreme Dean muttered in his heart as he looked at the sky above his head, feeling a burst of apprehension. He didn't know if that little girl had received the news. Could she come back on time? Just as he was suffering in his heart, Su Xiaoxiao suddenly stepped forward and knelt on the ground, saying, Grand Supreme Dean, instructors, I'm willing to use my chance to stay in exchange for Luo Qingtong to stay. Please don't expel her. The sun above her head was almost at its highest point. Su Xiaoxiao was about to cry. I won't stay in the holy court of the Empire of Qin. I'll use my quota and opportunity in exchange for Luo Qingtong to stay. Instructors, please promise me. Sima Zhu didn't say anything and also took the initiative to stand up. His 10,000 poisons body was very important in the martial arts academy. Like Su Xiaoxiao, he was considered a genius seed in each academy and was very cherished. This time, regarding the expulsion of Luo Qingtong and the people around her, the great teachers of their respective academies had fought hard to protect them. But now, they took the initiative to ask to give up the chance to stay in order to let Luo Qingtong stay. Boss, stay. Let's go. Sima Zhu's words were very concise. The young man's face was like an elf. Originally, he had an untainted temperament. Coupled with the cold aura that kept people thousands of miles away that he had cultivated over the years, he was more like a person who walked out of a painting. Only when he talked about Luo Qingtong did he have a trace of human aura. Su Xiaoxiao isn't enough. Add me in, change. Nonsense. As soon as his words left his mouth, the two great masters of the Martial Arts Institute and the Pharmaceutical Institute immediately rebuked him. The two of them were saved by him and the others with great difficulty. What was he trying to do? Did they want all their efforts to go to waste? The two of them looked furious. Just as they were about to say something, the first elder of the Sacred Academy's cold voice rang out. Sure. Threatening me with this? Do you really think that the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin has no more geniuses without you? The great elder looked at Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Zhu with an unkind expression. If it weren't for the fact that these two people had some redeeming qualities, and were considered to be the best of the best among the heaven-grade students, he wouldn't have agreed to let them stay. Now, they actually wanted to threaten him with the opportunity to stay behind? Luo Qingtong has seriously violated the rules of the Holy Academy by asking for leave for so many days. No mercy is allowed. The first elder of the Sacred Academy said coldly. He looked at Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Ju and said, since you want to accompany her so much, then let's go together. No one is allowed to plead for them anymore. As soon as Luo Wu arrives, Luo Qingtong and the people around her will all be kicked out of the Sacred Academy. The first elder of the Sacred Academy shouted with a cold face. Ha! In the direction of Yu Wenma and the others, Su Jinhua sneered at once. Chapter 868. However, they would rather not stay in the Saint Academy than let Luo Qingtong stay. Senior brother, they are deliberately trying to disgust you. Su Jinhua said to Yu Wenma. Humph. Yu Wenma's voice was cold. That stupid woman? Yu Wenma's face was full of disdain. He had no feelings for Luo Qingtong before, but now, after what happened to the siblings of the Ling family, he was extremely disgusted by Luo Qingtong. That woman is almost 16 years old, right? His heart was cold. I should find a chance to marry her and then lock her up in a place. Then it doesn't matter what she becomes. As long as he married Luo Qingtong and activated the engagement token, what did Luo Qingtong become in the end have anything to do with him? She was just a woman with mediocre talent and strength, and was stupid enough to be used against him. If it weren't for the fact that the engagement was beneficial to him, he wouldn't have cared about her at all. It was ridiculous that the woman did all kinds of things and even got involved with the people of the Ling family. Thinking of this, Yu Wenma's heart was full of disgust. At the same time, the sun was high in the sky. It's noon. Hearing this, the people in the square were in an uproar. Humph. The first elder of the Saint Academy said coldly. He snorted and raised his voice. In the history of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, there has never been a student who acted so recklessly. Luo Qingtong of the Tianyu branch doesn't care about the rules of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. After entering the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, she didn't register for the Saint Academy this time. Not only that, but she also asked for leave for many days. The Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin can't afford to have such an arrogant student who doesn't want to study. As for Su Xiaoxiao, Yu Enhu, Sima Ju, Ling Tianhan, Ling Yu, Ling Tianchen, and Si Wenhao, who saw her as their boss, they also disrespected the rules of the Great Qin Academy. Now I announce that the students of the Tianyu branch who entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and Luo Qingtong are expelled from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Before he finished his words, the Grand Dean's voice came from the other side. Wait. He gritted his teeth and stepped forward. All right, all of this is, it's my. Before he could finish his words, there was a sudden bang. A loud explosion came from outside. This sound was unusually loud and ear-piercing. In the next second, the voice of the guards of the Great Qin Sacred Academy suddenly rang out. Who? How dare you trespass the Empire of Qin? Hearing this, the expressions of everyone in the square changed. How dare someone trespass the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? Did they want to die? Everyone looked at the Grand Elder and the Grand Dean. Everyone here was a powerhouse who had surpassed the Sage Realm. Even if the people of the Black Field came to break into the Saint Academy, as long as Ming Zun didn't come in person, they wouldn't be able to stop them. While everyone was thinking about this, the Grand Elder on the other side was furious. Bastard! How dare anyone come to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and behave atrociously? I'd like to see who on earth is. Before he could finish his sentence, a few figures suddenly flew towards the crowd with a loud bang. The next second, these people fell in front of the Grand Elder and the other people of the Saint Academy. There was a burst of wailing everywhere. These people were the guards outside the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. After these people smashed into the ground, a clear and loud sound rang out from not far away. Chapter 869. As he spoke, a fiery red figure slowly stepped into everyone's line of sight. The girl's body seemed to be wrapped in a layer of flames. Her swaying body was like a stamen in the flame. She was extremely beautiful. Her skin was as white as snow, and her lips were as red as fire. Her skirt was swaying like a fiery red lotus swaying in the wind. As soon as Luo Qingtong appeared, she captured everyone's attention. Everyone looked at the girl who seemed to have stepped out of endless flames, and their eyes flashed with amazement. Ma Chenyi, who had just arrived, was even more excited. Luo Qingtong. Who are you? The first elder of the Saint Academy looked at the stunningly beautiful girl in front of him suspiciously. Was she also a student of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? She was so talented and powerful. Why didn't he have any impression of her? Even if she was a student of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, she shouldn't be so arrogant. She even injured the guards of the Saint Academy. She had gone too far. Thinking of this, the first elder of the Saint Academy suddenly scolded her harshly, "Since you are a student of the Saint Academy, you should follow the rules of the Saint Academy. How could you injure the guards outside?" Before his voice had died away, Su Xiaoxiao and the others had rushed up excitedly. "Boss! Boss! You are back!" They were so excited that they couldn't control themselves. Su Xiaoxiao and the others had thought that they couldn't stop the first elder from driving them out of the Saint Academy, nor could they protect Luo Qingtong's qualification to enter the Saint Academy. They didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would come back at this time. The group of people laughed and jumped, surrounding Luo Qingtong with indescribable joy and excitement. Everyone present, except for the Grand Dean and Ma Chenyi, was stunned, including Yu Wenma. "Luo Qingtong?" someone exclaimed in a low voice. Looking at the beautiful girl surrounded by Su Xiaoxiao and the others, he was shocked and shocked. Oh my God! The domineering and alluring girl in front of him was actually Luo Qingtong, the girl who was rumored to have entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin through the back door. She was also extremely arrogant and didn't know her own identity. She even asked for half a year's leave before coming to the Saint Academy. Wasn't it said that Luo Qingtong was only the legitimate daughter of a marquis from a small inferior country? His talent and strength were only average, and he wasn't much of a person, but now, looking at the young girl in front of them, looking at her domineering and proud bearing, everyone simply couldn't imagine that she was just a marquis from a small and inferior country. Most likely, even the legitimate daughters of the great clans in the Holy Dynasty could not compare to her, right? Luo Qingtong's charm was not inferior to the ordinary noble ladies of the Holy Dynasty. No, there was still a chance of victory. If Su Xiaoxiao and the others hadn't exposed her identity, they wouldn't have known that she was the girl they had been waiting for. He was also the main character of this 3-day agreement. Luo Qingtong? She is actually Luo Qingtong? Yu Wenma looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. He hadn't seen Luo Qingtong for a long time. Every time he passed by the eastern border country, he had no interest in seeing his nominal fiancée. Come to think of it, he and Luo Qingtong had not seen each other for almost 10 years. The girl's face was completely out of his expectation. Thinking that Luo Qingtong was called the most beautiful girl in the eastern border country, he thought that people from the inferior country were ignorant. Luo Qingtong might not be comparable to the legitimate daughters of the great clans in the Tianyu Empire. But now it seemed that Luo Qingtong was more than comparable. Chapter 870. Yu Wenma looked at Luo Qingtong with deep eyes. Before the girl appeared, he would never have thought that his fiancée would look like this. Although Yu Wenma had a strong first impression of Luo Qingtong, he was disgusted with her. But at this moment, facing the girl opposite him, he had completely forgotten about that feeling. He even vaguely felt a sense of familiarity with Luo Qingtong. It was as if he had seen her somewhere before. But he really had to think. He couldn't remember. Yu Wenma stared at Luo Qingtong closely. His thoughts had completely changed at this moment. If she was his fiancée, he wouldn't reject this engagement at all. He could even marry her as his real wife and fully fulfill this engagement. Looking at his eyes, Su Jinhua felt anxious. Senior brother. She stomped her feet angrily and said, "Don't forget that she is in cahoots with the Ling siblings. The Ling family and the evil Dr. Ghost. I destroyed your Yuan family together. She is still with them. She clearly doesn't take you seriously." As soon as Su Jinua's words came out, Yu Wenma's gaze changed instantly. He looked at Luo Qingtong opposite him with indescribable complexity in his heart. But he still said coldly, "No matter what, she is my fiancée, my future wife." In the past, Yu Wenmo had said these words unwillingly, but this time, there was some sincerity in them. If it was her, even if she made a mistake, he could forgive her. What's more, Luo Qingtong might not really want to be with the Ling siblings. Thinking of how he didn't care about her all these years, Yu Wenma felt that Luo Qingtong might be hanging out with the Ling family to attract his attention. After all, after she hung out with the Ling siblings, he did pay more attention to her. If this was the case, he could forgive her. Just as Yu Wenma was thinking about this, the first elder of the Holy Academy on the other side had already come to his senses. He shouted at Luo Qingtong sternly, "You are the Luo Qingtong who asked for leave after being admitted to the Holy Academy? Good. All right." The first elder of the Sacred Institute sneered. He didn't like Luo Qingtong in the first place. Seeing that she was so arrogant and unscrupulous, directly injuring the guards of the Saint Academy, he was furious. "Do you even care about the rules of the Sacred Institute? Luo Qingtong, do you know what you've done? You've injured the guards of the Saint Academy without returning your leave." The first elder of the Saint Academy said coldly. He looked at Luo Qingtong with disgust. Ma Chenyi frowned. Just as he was about to step forward, he was stopped by the Grand Principal. The latter winked at him for a while, telling him to just watch from the side. Now that the child of the evil doctor had returned, the great elder of the Holy Academy would be in for a hard time. Luo Qingtong was famous in the Black Field for being protective of her shortcomings and not being at a disadvantage. Since the first elder of the Sacred Academy dared to make a move against the people around her, he could only wait to be humiliated. The Grand Supreme Dean was gloating over his misfortune. "What did I do wrong?" Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She patted Su Xiaoxiao and others on the shoulders, telling them not to worry. Then she looked up at the first elder of the Holy Academy. She glanced at the people present and sneered, "Didn't you ask me to come back as soon as possible in the 3-day appointment? I was stopped at the gate of the Holy Academy. In order to avoid missing the time, I naturally had to make a move." In fact, the guards outside the Holy Academy were on good terms with Su Jinhua and others. After hearing Luo Qingtong's identity, they immediately ridiculed her and tried to stop her. Chapter 871. The Rules of the Sacred Academy? If others obeyed the rules, she would obey them, too. If others didn't obey the rules and wanted to force her to obey them, they would be dreaming. Luo Qingtong walked to the guards who had been blown to the square by her. She lifted her foot and stomped on one of the guards' hands fiercely. The smile on her lips was indescribably evil and bloodthirsty. "I'm starting to suspect that you didn't want me to come back from the very beginning, so you arranged this show on purpose. But now it seems that the play is not good. It's a bad play." Luo Qingtong's smile was cold. The first elder of the Sacred Academy was so angry that his beard trembled. "How dare you? How could we do such a dirty and shameless thing? What's more, even if you come back, so what? I made a bet with the Grand Dean that I still need you to improve your strength. Unless your strength improves and proves that your practice outside is not inferior to your practice in the Sacred Academy, your qualification to enter the Sacred Academy will be revoked. Get out of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, together with these unruly people around you. This is not a place where you can go through the back door." Hearing this, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes instantly. First Elder of the Sacred Academy, you keep saying that I'm impudent and go through the back door. I want to ask you, how am I impudent? How am I going through the back door? Is it impudent that I hurt the people who tried to stop me from entering the Sacred Academy and made them deserve it? Or is it impudent that I made your wishful thinking fail? As for going through the back door, tell me, where is the evidence? Luo Qingtong's smile was evil and cold. In terms of eloquence, 100 First Elders of the Sacred Academy were no match for her. Luo Qingtong was hunted down in her previous life. When she couldn't defeat her opponent, she almost angered her opponent to death with her words. Over the years, as her pupil sorcery became more and more powerful, she stopped talking when she could fight. But it didn't mean that she couldn't talk. You. The First Elder of the Sacred Academy's chest heaved and his face turned red after hearing her words. That was all because he was angry. I won't quibble with you. If you really have the ability, show me your strength. If you really improve your strength, I'll admit that I've wronged you. Your leave is valid, and their qualification to enter the Sacred Academy will be preserved. Otherwise, all of you can scram. The First Elder of the Sacred Academy's strength. He didn't believe Luo Qingtong's strength improve. The strength that the other party had submitted was that of a mid-level martial king. Putting aside the possibility of this strength being fake, even in the Great Qin Sacred Academy, ordinary heaven-grade students would not be able to achieve such a feat by raising their cultivation by 1 level in 3 months to the advanced martial king realm. The First Elder of the Saint Academy had already looked down on Luo Qingtong because of what Yu Wenma and the others had said. In addition, he knew that Luo Qingtong was only from an inferior country. Does she think she can get away with it? She must be dreaming. Thinking of this, the First Elder of the Sacred Academy's academy was not so angry about Luo Qingtong's arrogant behavior. He sneered and looked at Luo Qingtong. He wanted to see how she would humiliate herself. Chapter 872. Luo Qingtong looked at him indifferently and then sneered, "Why?" She looked at the First Elder of the Saint Academy and sneered, "If my strength improves, it proves that I have the ability and confidence to ask for leave. But what does that have to do with you wronging me?" Luo Qingtong looked leisurely. She looked at the First Elder of the Saint Academy in front of her, whose face was blue and white. He was almost angered to death by her words. She said in a light and melodious voice, "Great Elder of the Saint Academy, you really have a good idea. You wronged me, but you don't need to pay any price. You even used the price that I don't need to pay. Am I supposed to be deeply grateful to you? The word, shameless, that you used earlier was really accurate. Shut up." The First Elder of the Saint Academy was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Luo Qingtong's words were sharper than a sword, which made his heart tremble. He had followed the tradition all his life. How could he let others slander his reputation like this? He immediately shouted angrily, "Good. Then tell me, what kind of price do you want us to pay?" The First Elder of the Saint Academy was sure that Luo Qingtong was bluffing. The more arrogant she was, the less confident she was. He wanted to see how long she could hold on in the end. Luo Qingtong had been waiting for him to say this. It was worth hiding and suppressing her strength until now. Today she would let these people know what the consequences of looking down on others were. "I want all of you to apologize for wronging us and trying to expel us. All the members of the Presbyters Association who were involved in this matter and tried to expel us from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin should admit their mistakes and bow their heads to apologize to us. At the same time, you can't interfere with the Grand Dean's decision in the future. And you have to admit that me and the people around me are qualified as heaven-grade students. No one can question us anymore." As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the First Elder of the Saint Academy and other people's faces turned livid. She wanted them to apologize to these students? And they couldn't interfere with the Grand Dean's decision in the future? Wouldn't they be completely overwhelmed by the Grand Dean's faction in the future? And they had to admit that Luo Qingtong's qualification as heaven-grade students was valid? Luo Qingtong's words made the First Elder and other people of the Saint Academy's blue veins on their foreheads. The Grand Dean, on the other hand, was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. I knew that this evil Dr. Kid wouldn't be taken advantage of. If the First Elder of the Saint Academy dare to agree to it, let's see if we can't. Even at the Elder of the Saint Academy, Qingtong Yu Qingtong a few times, Luo Qingtong. The first Shui Tong was Qing Yu Shui, the Elder of Shui. First for the Yu, Elder of Academy, in the future, with Young, the, with Ili, Senior, of the Emperor of Yus. Moreover, if the First Elder and other people of the Saint Academy bowed their heads to them, it would completely wash away the grievances that Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao had suffered during this time. No matter how one looked at it, Luo Qingtong's conditions were just right. This young girl was truly clever and quick-witted. But could she win? Ma Chunyi thought of how Luo Qingtong and Master Luo won the competition in the Great Chu Imperial Palace, no matter how much he inquired. Especially the news about Luo Qingtong, which was even more suppressed. Could it be that she could really win the bet with the First Elder of the Saint Academy? Chapter 873. Wait. Su Jinhua said. First Elder, it's not fair. Luo Qingtong must have received the news since she came back in time. What if she used some unconventional method to stimulate her potential and directly improve her strength by one stage? Su Jinhua looked at Luo Qingtong with a sneer. First Elder, in my opinion, unless Luo Qingtong's strength has reached the peak of the Martial King realm. Otherwise, don't agree with her request. Moreover, the reason she asked for leave is invalid. They will still be driven out of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. What? The peak of the Martial King realm? As Su Jinyue's voice sounded, there was a burst of low voices around. No one believed that Luo Qingtong could improve from the intermediate Martial King realm to the peak of the Martial King realm in 3 months. She had improved by 2 stages in such a short time. It should be noted that the best heaven-grade students in the Saint Academy could only achieve such improvement with the help of various resources and training. Moreover, Luo Qingtong had asked for leave and no one to teach her. Under such circumstances, it was extremely difficult for her to achieve such improvement. So far, only the legendary Dean had improved from the beginner Martial King realm to the peak of the Martial King realm when he asked for leave. But that was after 1 or 2 years. Moreover, the strength and talent of the legendary Dean were unmatched in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin so far. He was one of the most powerful people in the East region for so many years. For so many years, no one had been able to surpass his fame. How could Luo Qingtong compare with the legendary Dean? It was impossible for her to improve from the intermediate Martial King realm to the peak of the Martial King realm. Su Jinyue's words were to completely eliminate the chance of Luo Qingtong and the others staying in the Saint Academy. Hearing this, the crowd shook their heads for a while. They already thought that Luo Qingtong would lose. Su Xiaoxiao and the others gritted their teeth and glared at Su Jinyue. This woman was too detestable. Okay. The First Elder of the Saint Academy nodded. He was shocked. He had indeed carelessly forgotten about this earlier. If Luo Qingtong really used some underhanded method to raise her strength by a level, then he would lose for sure. Thinking of this, he immediately said to Luo Qingtong, "Just do as Su Jinyue said. Luo Qingtong, if you can reach the peak of the Martial King realm, then we will agree to your request. I apologize to you." At the same time, they would no longer interfere with the decisions of the Grand Principal and the others. Furthermore, I acknowledge that your qualifications as a heaven-grade student are valid. Not only that, but will also give you a chance to use the cultivation facilities in the Sacred Court, regardless of the level limit. But, if you can't do it, Pack up your things and get the hell out of the Empire of Qin with your people. The first elder of the Sacred Institute was confident of winning. He didn't believe that this Luo Qingtong was really that talented. If that was the case, why was the other party so unknown? Moreover, it was said that she had cheated to get into the trash class of the Tianyu Branch Academy. If such a student hadn't hooked up with the evil Dr. Ghost Eye in the Black Field, how could she have entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? It was said that the evil Dr. Ghost Eye had destroyed Yu Wenma's family, the royal family of Tianyu. As Yu Wenma's fiancé, Luo Qingtong still hooked up with the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She was really heartless. He was going to get rid of such a black sheep today. He would get rid of all the people around her. Luo Qingtong. Just say whether you dare or not. If you dare. Chapter 874. He looked at the girl in front of him in shock. He was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Not only him. So were all the people present. The peak of the martial king realm. A student of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, who had gathered in front of the square to watch the fun, was stunned by the aura that erupted from Luo Qingtong's body. He instantly gasped. My God! The peak of the martial king realm. Luo Qingtong's strength had really advanced to the peak of the martial king realm. Everyone was shocked to see Luo Qingtong's strength. The medium martial king realm, the advanced martial king realm, the peak of the martial king realm. Luo Qingtong's strength increased from weak to strong. Almost without any hindrance, her strength rose to the peak of the martial king realm in an instant. This kind of strength increase was extremely smooth. The aura around her was smooth and solid. It was clear that she didn't suddenly advance or forcibly. Luo Qingtong had asked for leave and didn't come back. The strength that she had improved was actually not inferior to that of the outstanding students of the heaven grade of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Seeing this scene, the people of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin were all stunned. What kind of valiant talent was this? Luo Qingtong's strength was actually not inferior to that of the top geniuses of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin without the same resources and guidance. Just as everyone was shocked, Luo Qingtong's aura had risen to the peak of the martial king realm. Just when everyone thought that Luo Qingtong's strength and aura would be fixed there, Luo Qingtong's aura suddenly rose. The martial royal realm. Looking at the girl's aura, the people around the square were all speechless. Except for the Grand Dean, who had already known that Luo Qingtong had reached the martial royal realm after the battle with Feng Wuan, everyone else was extremely shocked. Especially Yu Wenma. He looked at the center of the square. She was surrounded by an aura. She was like a goddess who had descended to the mortal world. For the first time in his life, he regretted not asking about her. In 3 months, he had advanced from the intermediate martial king realm to the martial royal realm. No matter what method Luo Qingtong used, it was enough to make her one of the most dazzling geniuses of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Previously, he had really misjudged him. Just as Yu Wenmo was filled with regret, Ma Chunye's eyes lit up. Luo Qingtong's increase in strength was completely beyond his expectations. When they first met in the Tianyu Empire, Ma Chunye didn't have a clear view of his strength because he had used the power of the Empire of Qin's decree. Only now did they know that this Chu saintly conferred princess, who was able to rival the first princess of Great Yong, possessed a valiant strength and talent. He looked deeply at Luo Qingtong. As for the grand principal beside him, he had been holding it in for so long and could finally laugh out loud. Ha! Great Elder! The elders of the Sacred Institute. How's Luo Qingtong's strength? Did she use some method to improve her strength? Speaking of this, he glanced at the pale Su Jinue with a mocking look. Then he said loudly, "Okay, apologize quickly." Ha ha ha. Little Luo. Come here quickly. Where are the great elder of the Holy Academy and the others? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As soon as the Grand Principal said this, the faces of the Great Elder and the others turned green instantly. In particular, not only did they have to bow their heads and apologize to Luo Qingtong, but they also had to apologize to Su Xiaoxiao and the others. This was even more uncomfortable than killing the Great Elder and the others. Luo Qingtong smiled slightly and led Su Xiaoxiao and the others over. The latter and the others were elated and proud. The Great Elder of the Holy Academy held his breath and apologized to Luo Qingtong and the others one by one. Chapter 875. She walked towards Yuanma. Seeing her actions, everyone was stunned. At the same time, they suddenly remembered the relationship between Luo Qingtong and Yuanma. These two people were fiancé and fiancée. Before Luo Qingtong was admitted to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, before Luo Qingtong was well known, no one knew that she was Yuanma's fiancé. The latter didn't mention anything about Luo Qingtong. It was only later that people slowly heard rumors that the two of them were engaged. At that time, the people of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin didn't know Luo Qingtong's strength and talent. In addition, Luo Qingtong had taken so many days of leave and had a bad reputation in the Tianyu Branch Academy. Everyone felt sorry for Yuanma. They thought that he was really unlucky to have a fiancé like Luo Qingtong. But now, it seemed that it wasn't just unlucky. It was clearly a great blessing. Looking at the beautiful and talented young lady, everyone present was filled with envy and jealousy towards Yuanma. It was said that Luo Qingtong was deeply in love with Yuanma in Dongli country. Now, she followed him all the way to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. She didn't care if she was misunderstood. She must be deeply in love with Yuanma. It really made people jealous. Not only people thought so, but Yuanma also thought so. He remembered that when he was young, he often went to Dongli country to get rid of the cold poison in his body. At that time, Luo Qingtong, who was just 2 years old and couldn't remember anything, followed him and called him Brother Mo. When he was a little older, the cold poison in his body was completely removed. Luo Qingtong's mother disappeared, so he didn't go to Dongli country much. But at that time, it was Luo Qingtong who went to the Tianyu Empire. But at that time, he was annoyed and didn't want a fiancé from an inferior country. He didn't want to talk to her at all. After that, Luo Qingtong spent less and less time in the Tianyu Empire. After that, he heard that she was known as the #1 beauty of the Eastern Fence country, and then the #1 genius of the Luo clan and even the entire Eastern Fence country. But at that time, he had already begun to set his sights on the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. He simply scoffed at Luo Qingtong's achievements. However, he had never expected that this young girl whom he had disdained to even spare a glance at would actually shine with a light that was even more dazzling than his own. In a way that no one had expected, she would appear in the Grand Qin Sacred Academy and stand in front of him. Although Luo Qingtong ruined his plan. However, Yuanma felt that as long as Luo Qingtong knew her mistake and immediately drew a clear line between her and the Ling siblings, he would let bygones be bygones. No matter what, she was his fiancée, the woman he was going to marry. What's more, Luo Qingtong may not be sincere about hanging out with the Ling siblings. Maybe she did this to protect herself after the evil Dr. Ghost Eye destroyed the royal family of the Tianyu Empire. Or maybe she wanted to attract his attention so that he could pay more attention to her. If so, he was willing to forgive her. What's more, if he could pull her to his side at this time, it would be a big blow to the Ling siblings. Thinking of this, Yuanma immediately walked towards Luo Qingtong. Senior brother. Chapter 876. When Yuanma first came to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, she had taken a liking to him. For this reason, she begged her father to accept Yuanma. And Yuanma did indeed live up to her expectations. In just a short year, he had already become the fastest growing student in their academy. He was also one of the most powerful geniuses under her father's tutelage. Su Jinhua knew that Yu Wenma had a fiancé, but she didn't care at all. How could a mere daughter of a marquis from a low-level country be compared to her? She probably wasn't even fit to carry her shoes. Su Jinhua had never taken Luo Qingtong seriously. But now, looking at the gorgeous and dazzling girl opposite her, Su Jinua's heart was about to go crazy with jealousy. "Senior brother, have you forgotten? She's in cahoots with the Ling siblings," she shouted at Yu Wenma. The latter ignored her and walked directly to Luo Qingtong. "Qingtong." Yu Wenma looked at the girl in front of him with deep eyes. "I'm very happy that you came to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin to find me." His words were spoken with a sense of superiority and superiority. It was as if Luo Qingtong coming to find him was something worth bragging about. In fact, it was so. Looking at the jealous eyes of the surrounding people, it was obvious how enviable it was to be able to win Luo Qingtong's heart. Especially since she was beautiful and had good qualifications. However, just as Yu Wenma spoke, Luo Qingtong's voice rang out. "Yu Wenma, since you're here, let's settle this matter together." As Luo Qingtong spoke, she took out a letter of annulment and a royal jade pendant from her sleeve and threw them in front of Yu Wenma. 13 years ago, the royal family of Tianyu and the Luo family set up an engagement. Now, Yu Wenma, we're annulling the engagement. Now, we've gone our separate ways. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. Luo Qingtong's move left Yu Wenma completely dumbfounded. He still had a reserved and handsome smile on his face. At this moment, because of the annulment letter and imperial jade pendant thrown by Luo Qingtong, the veins on the back of his hands bulged. He clenched his fists fiercely and looked at Luo Qingtong with a cold gaze. Luo Qingtong's words simply put Yu Wenma's face on the ground and stepped on it. In front of so many people in the Great Qin Sacred Academy, Yu Wenma had just said those arrogant and condescending words. In the blink of an eye, he was slapped in the face by Luo Qingtong's annulment letter. He thought that she had come to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin to find him and was deeply in love with him. However, Luo Qingtong did come to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin to find him, but she came to break off the engagement. Yu Wenma's expression instantly became very ugly. "Qingtong, don't make trouble." He squeezed out these words from between his teeth with a dark face. "If there's anything, we can slowly talk about it later. I admit that I paid attention to you before and neglected you, but isn't it pardonable for cultivation? Don't be willful." As soon as he said this, Luo Qingtong looked at him with a mocking expression. "Does this man think I'm stupid? Oh. That's right. This man still thinks I'm the Luo Qingtong from before. The Luo Qingtong who was deeply in love with him and wouldn't marry anyone but him. It's a pity that when she transmigrated and found that the people who came to kill her were sent by Tianyu's imperial family, the heart of the original host had already died." Luo Qingtong said that she would get revenge for the other party and the Luo family. "Does Yu Wenma still think that she still has feelings for him?" Luo Qingtong looked at Yu Wenma with a sneer. Her expression was indifferent. "Yu Wenma, don't say so much. There's nothing to say between us." Chapter 877. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. Yu Wenma's heart was filled with anger. "Luo Qingtong, there must be a limit to your willfulness." He coldly looked at the beautiful girl standing in front of him. Yu Wenma knew that he was in the wrong before. He was willing to apologize and make up for Luo Qingtong. But not now. And not in front of everyone, forced to lower his head to Luo Qingtong. The other party used breaking off the engagement to pressure him. She really touched his bottom line. "Our marriage was arranged by our parents, by the words of the matchmaker. Luo Qingtong, you don't have the qualifications to break off the engagement. Is that so?" Luo Qingtong looked at him and smiled. She knew that Yu Wenma wouldn't agree to break off the engagement so easily. Although she didn't know why, Luo Qingtong had already made sufficient preparations before coming here. Yu Wenma had no choice but to break off the engagement. I advise you to take a good look at that annulment. Yu Wenma. Luo Qingtong slightly swung her sleeves. She raised her head and looked at Yu Wenma with a sneer. My grandfather and your mother's personal signature and seal are on it. With this annulment, our engagement can be considered completely annulled. The reason why I have to say it again is because you still have my Luo family's engagement token in your hand. Yu Wenma, the engagement has been annulled. Return my Luo family's engagement token. Luo Qingtong coldly looked at him. At this time, Yu Wenma's face was so gloomy that it looked like it was about to drip water. He looked at the annulment in front of him in disbelief and found that it was indeed his mother, the Tianyu Empress' personal signature and seal. He suddenly clenched the annulment letter in his hand. This is impossible. He had clearly told his parents that Luo Qingtong meant a lot to him. No matter how much his parents didn't believe it, they would never sign the annulment. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It's her. It must be her. She destroyed the Yuan family and forced his mother to sign the annulment. No wonder Luo Qingtong mixed with the Ling family. She had wanted to get rid of the Yuan family for a long time. Did she start to despise the Yuan family because she had climbed up a higher branch? No wonder she kept saying she wanted to break off the engagement. It wasn't an act. She had climbed up the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Thinking that he guessed the truth, Yu Wenma's eyes red with anger. He angrily looked at Luo Qingtong, then suddenly raised his hand and tore the annulment into pieces. Luo Qingtong. Don't think that you can use this kind of method to break off the engagement just because you're related to evil Dr. Ghost Eye. So what if my mother's father's? This matter is invalid without my consent. I won't break off the engagement with you. Yu Wenma's eyes blazed as he looked at Luo Qingtong. He had racked his brains and endured the ridicule of his marriage for so many years just to grab hold of Luo Qingtong, the opportunity that would allow him to soar to the top. Now Luo Qingtong wanted to break off the engagement and take back the jade pendant he had relied on to increase his strength. How could this be possible? He would never break off the engagement. Yu Wenma. Seeing this, Su Xiaoxiao and the others couldn't hold back anymore. They originally thought that boss could solve his own problems. They didn't expect Yu Wenma to be so shameless. Chapter 878. Yu Wenma, you can't be so shameless. Who said the marriage was decided by the parents and the matchmaker? The elders of both sides agreed to cancel the marriage. So what if you don't agree? Little Overlord Yuan yelled, not giving Yu Wenma any face at all. Didn't you despise our boss before? Why, are you regretting it now that our boss is so powerful? Let me tell you, no way. Not even a window. Little Tyrant Yuan looked at Yu Wenma with indescribable disdain. The others looked at Yu Wenma with different expressions. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. Yu Wenma, I'll make a bet with you. She looked coldly at the man with a dark face and mocked him. I'll challenge you in a month. If you win, I'll never mention the cancellation of the marriage again. If you lose, immediately take out the marriage token of the Luo family and get out of my sight. How about it? Do you dare to compete? Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, and everyone was shocked. Challenge? Luo Qingtong and Yu Wenma? Boss. This won't do. Little Tyrant Yuan, who was mocking Yu Wenma with all his might, couldn't help but cry out when he heard this. Boss, you don't know, but Yu Wenma is already a martial emperor. Little Tyrant Yuan and the others were anxious. It wasn't that they didn't believe in Luo Qingtong's strength. After all, she had killed a novice martial emperor in the imperial family of Tianyu. But the situation now was different. When Luo Qingtong killed the expert who had just entered the martial emperor realm, she was already injured. Little Tyrant Yuan and the others knew that the imperial family of Tianyu had inexplicably offended an expert above the martial saint realm and had their treasury raided. The martial emperor in the imperial family of Tianyu had been seriously injured at that time and hadn't recovered yet. Under such circumstances, the expert who had just entered the martial emperor realm that Luo Qingtong had killed was actually not that powerful. Moreover, Yu Wenma wasn't an ordinary martial emperor. He was also a soul cultivator, possessing the rare soul seal spirit body. His strength was more than several times that of an ordinary martial emperor. Luo Qingtong had just advanced to the martial emperor stage. How could she be a match for Yu Wenma? The group was very anxious, but Luo Qingtong looked at Yu Wenma calmly and said, "Yu Wenma, do you dare to do it? If you don't have the guts, you can just accept the annulment letter. Give me back my Luo clan's token." At this point, she said with a mocking expression, "I forgot to tell you that even if you tear up one of the annulment papers, I still have dozens of them here. You can tear them up however you want." Luo Qingtong said as she took out a stack of annulment papers and threw them on the ground. With the Empress of Tianyu in her hands, she could Luo Qingtong sign as many annulments as she wanted. Even if Yuan Mo were to tear everything in front of him apart. Luo Qingtong still had some. Yuan Mo's eyes were red as he looked at the annulment papers thrown by Luo Qingtong. He felt that his face had been ruthlessly thrown to the ground and stepped on by Luo Qingtong. How much did this woman want to annul the engagement with him? How could she write so many annulment papers? Yuan Mo's chest heaved up and down in anger. Then, he threw out a few words. "Okay. I'll be waiting for you in a month." Chapter 879. Looking at his back, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. "Luo girl, you're a bit impulsive." The Grand Dean walked up to her and said. "You're very strong, but Yu Wenma isn't an ordinary person. Just leave it to me to deal with the situation just now. I'm sure he'll be obedient and break off the engagement for you. Why do you have to make a bet with him?" The Grand Dean frowned. Luo Qingtong had the annulment letter in her hand. He could step forward in this situation. "It's all right, Grand Dean. I know what I'm doing." Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She could indeed ask the Grand Dean to step in and force Yu Wenma to break off the engagement. But what if Yu Wenma got angry and made a mistake with the engagement token? Luo Qingtong couldn't take this risk. She wanted Yu Wenma to take out the engagement token himself. Luo Qingtong and the others left the square. Su Xiaoxiao and the others had a lot to say to Luo Qingtong. The Grand Dean didn't disturb them. He still had a lot of things to do. This time, Luo Qingtong came back and suppressed the Great Elder of the Sacred Institute. It was really cool. Originally, the Great Elder of the Sacred Institute had begun to take over the rights of the Grand Dean and the other presidents. The reason was that they had arbitrarily changed the rules of the Sacred Institute of the Empire of Qin and abused their power for personal gain. Now, the Grand Dean wanted to cooperate with his disciple and take back all those rights. Not only that, but he also wanted to take over some of the rights of the Great Elder of the Sacred Institute and the Elders Association. After all, they were so blind to persecute a genius like Luo Qingtong. It really made people doubt their ability. Originally, the Great Elder of the Sacred Institute had the upper hand. But now, Luo Qingtong reversed everything. The Grand Dean left with a smile. Ma Chunyi also took a deep look at Luo Qingtong and withdrew from the crowd. He came from behind, and Luo Qingtong did not notice him at all. This time, Luo Qingtong came back in time. The Grand Principal and the others were not the only ones who benefited. Many of the decorations in Ma Chunyi could no longer be used. Furthermore, the reason that King Wu and the others used to attack the Grand Supreme Dean and the others was no longer there. Ma Chunyi could now free up the time to deal with them. He would come back to see Luo Qingtong after he had solved some of his problems. He believed that the girl would not disappoint him. The peaceful Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin was probably going to stir up a storm because of Luo Qingtong's arrival. He was really looking forward to it. There was a faint smile on Mo Chenye's lips. But soon, he thought of the hidden danger in his body. His gaze instantly turned cold. The person behind Mo Chenxian was too well hidden. No matter how hard Ma Chenye tried to investigate, he couldn't find any clues at all. If it went on like this, the dragon qi in his body would not be able to hold on. But he didn't know if it was his illusion, but the dragon qi in his body didn't seem to be absorbed like before. Ma Chenye looked down at his body in confusion. Finally, he didn't think too much and left with the people around him. And the others also left one after another. However, the name of Luo Qingtong was well known in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Almost everyone knew that there was going to be another rare genius in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Luo Qingtong followed Su Xiaoxiao and others out. The group of people looked worried because of the bet between Luo Qingtong and Yuan Mo. Chapter 880. She looked at them and said, "That's enough. Don't talk nonsense. There's still a month before the battle. Are you so sure that I'll lose?" Hearing her words, Su Xiaoxiao and the others' minds became much more active. Yes. Boss had always been capable of doing what others couldn't. 1 month. Maybe when Boss's strength improved, she would beat Yuan Ma until he cried for his parents. As the group of people thought about this, they immediately became spirited again. "Boss, don't worry. I'm very familiar with the body refining facilities in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At that time, we'll give you all our resources and you can improve your strength. At that time, you'll beat that bastard Yuan Ma to death." Yes. Su Xiaoxiao also clenched her fists and said, "Boss, I have a lot of medicinal materials and can apply for all kinds of resources. I'll give them all to you at that time. Before, you could improve your strength so much without cultivating in the academy. This time, you'll definitely become more powerful when you return to the Saint Academy." The group cheered for Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong smiled and said, "Well, where are you staying? Take me there." As soon as she said that, Su Xiaoxiao and the others stopped talking. "What's wrong?" Feeling that their expressions were not right, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows instantly. "You don't want me to go?" Luo Qingtong said with a faint smile. Her eyes became a little cold in an instant. There was obviously a reason for Su Xiaoxiao and the others to change like this. Thinking of the scene when she just came back, Su Xiaoxiao and the others were surrounded in the middle and were about to be driven away at any time. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. "No!" Su Xiaoxiao and the others hurriedly said. How could they dare to let Luo Qingtong misunderstand like this? But, alas! "Boss, we're sorry for your teaching," Little Overlord Yuan said dejectedly with his head hung low. "When you didn't come back, those people from the heavenly palace of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin thought that you wouldn't come back, so they drove us out." At this point, he clenched his fists tightly and lowered his head. "Boss, I'm sorry. We've let you down. We've embarrassed you." Before he could finish, Ling Tianhan's voice rang out beside him. "You can't blame them for this. Boss, this is all my and yours fault." Ling Tianhan clenched his fists, his fingers digging into his palms. "Those people were arranged by Yuan Ma and the others. They came for me and you, After we were chased out of the heavenly palace, the ones who replaced us as heaven-rank students and moved into our place were Lu Long and the others. They followed Yuan Mo to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. My hand was crippled by the Lu clan before this. This time, Lu Long crippled my hand again. They took over our heaven-rank students' quota and living quarters just to slap you, and me in the face. At this point, Ling Tianhan was suddenly interrupted by Luo Qingtong. Where are they? Where are they? Boss? Su Xiaoxiao and the others looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. Boss was, what? Your people were beaten up. You know that you've embarrassed me, but you don't know how to get back at them? Is this what I taught you before? Luo Qingtong looked at them coldly. She didn't care who sent those people or who they were targeting. She only knew that her people were beaten up. And they were chased out of the heavenly palace. Now that they had regained their status as heaven-rank students, of course they had to get back at them. Moreover, those people were sent by Yu Wenma to target Ling Tianhan and the others. Chapter 881. But, boss, that was the decision of the Sky Palace's dragon group. Ling Tianhan hesitated. Of course, he wanted to get back at them. Especially since Lu Long had crippled his right hand and ridiculed him. Yuan Hu and the others had also been suppressed and ridiculed because of their relationship with Yu. However, it was the decision of the Sky Palace's dragon group to let Lu Long enter the Sky Palace and stay in their place. Luo Qingtong's return this time was already high-profile enough. If they provoked the Sky Palace's dragon group again, Ling Tianhan was worried. Yuan Hu and the others were also worried. Although they really wanted to get back at them, they thought of Luo Qingtong. Her return this time had already shattered many people's dreams. She had even made a bet with Yu Wenma. It could be said that she had offended many people from Sky Hall. If they were to face the dragon group again, boss, we're fine. We just don't have a place to stay. We can just find another one, Yuan Hu said. Yes, boss. We're fine. Don't get angry because of us. Even Ling Yu, who was always impatient, said so. She had the temper of a young lady. If it was in the past, she and Ling Tianhan had suffered so much in the holy court of the Empire of Qin. They were even chased out of the dormitory and the Sky Palace. She definitely couldn't bear it. However, this time, she endured it. She couldn't let boss get into a fight with the dragon group because of this. It was important for Luo Qingtong to improve her strength. In a month, she would have a bet with Yu Wenma. She couldn't get into a fight with the dragon group because of them. If they got into a fight and boss got hurt, it wouldn't be good. Ling Yu had always remembered this. Compared to this, the grievances she had suffered were nothing. Hearing their words, Luo Qingtong only said two words coldly. Lead the way. Ling Tianhan and the others didn't know her character well enough. When had the supreme evil eye of the 24th century not taken revenge after suffering a loss? In this world, the person who could make Luo Qingtong suffer in silence had yet to be born. Even Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong didn't want to be outdone. Not to mention these people from the Sky Palace's dragon group. She didn't care who the other party was. Since they dared to touch her people and slap her face, they had to pay the price. She wasn't around before, so it was fine if they made a move. Now that he was back, she had to swallow her anger. This was impossible. If anyone dared to lay a finger on the people around her, she would return their entire hand to them. At the same time, in the courtyard where Ling Tianhan and Yuan Hu were staying, a group of people were chatting lazily. Hey, how pathetic do you think Ling Tianhan and the rest will be today? Huh. That Luo Qingtong definitely couldn't make it back in time. At that time, they will be chased out of the Empire of Qin like stray dogs. Huh. It's a pity that I didn't get to see them in such a sorry state. Yes. That would be awesome. It was also Ling Tianhan and the rest who had dug their own graves. They thought that they were invincible just because they had evil Dr. Ghost Eye with them. He even wanted to use Luo Qingtong to deal with the fifth prince, but in the end, the fifth prince removed the firewood from under his cauldron. Huh. One of the disciples from the Tianyu Empire who entered the Empire of Qin with Yu Wenma laughed. But we still have to thank them. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't have been so lucky to enter the Sky Palace. Chapter 882. Look at this dormitory. It's a courtyard like a manor, and there are qi gathering arrays in it. It's for students to practice. And it can be moved and put together at will. We're lucky to be able to live here. There was a place where Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Ju lived. Both of them have excellent courtyards. It's a pity that it's ours now. While they were talking, the gate of the courtyard was suddenly blasted open with a bang. Who is it? The group of people immediately stood up and shouted sternly. At the same time, they were shocked. The courtyard of the heaven-grade students' dormitory was protected by an array. Ordinary experts of the Saint realm couldn't break it open. The Saint Academy had spent a lot of effort to set up this array in the courtyards of the dormitory to ensure the safety of the heaven-grade students. The hub of the array was directly connected to the main defensive array of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. It was almost unshakable. How could there be someone outside who could break open the gate of their courtyard? While they were thinking, they suddenly saw the people who rushed in from outside the gate of the courtyard. Then they sneered. Yo! It's you! Seeing Yuan Hu and others coming in from the gate of the courtyard, the disciples of the Tianyu Empire who followed Lu Long said with disdain. What? Is there any trash left? It's already past noon. Your boss, Luo Qingtong, hasn't come back yet. Yuan Hu. What do you want us to say? Recommending a daughter of the Marquis's mansion from an inferior country to be your boss? You're really something. And that person is the fiancé of His Highness the Fifth Prince. In order to deal with His Highness the Fifth Prince, you've really tried your best. Unfortunately, His Highness the Fifth Prince doesn't buy it. Even if Luo Qingtong kneels on the ground and licks His Highness the Fifth Prince may not even look at her. You people, together with evil Dr. Gui Tong, have all made a mistake. What else haven't you taken? Take it and get out. Don't disturb us. Really? Following these words, Luo Qingtong stepped out from behind Yuan Hu and the others with an indifferent expression and bloodthirsty eyes. So no one wants me even if I kneel and lick their boots? The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. Boss, let's not lower ourselves to the level of an idiot. These people didn't go to the square at all. They didn't see Yu Wenmo's shameless face that refused to break off the engagement no matter what. Who is the one kneeling and licking who? Yuan Hu and the others sneered. When they heard the other party's description of Luo Qingtong, their hearts were filled with anger. They couldn't wait to tear the other party to pieces. In order to please Yu Wenma and Su Jinhue, these scumbags really dared to say anything. What infuriated them even more were the two students who had entered the Great Qin Sacred Academy at the same time as them. They were from the Tianyu Academy. At that time, Luo Qingtong and the others took the top 8 places. These two students were the last 2 places. When they had just entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, they had sought refuge from Yuan Hu and the others. Yuan Hu and the others had also entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin at the same time and were in the same academy, so they had taken care of them a lot. Now, those two people were together with the people around Lu Long, ridiculing them without leaving any room for decency. Yuan Hu and the others were really angry. Seeing the girl who stepped out from behind Yuan Hu and the others, the two students from Tianyu Academy were also shocked. Luo Qingtong. Chapter 883. What? Hearing the words of the two students from Tianyu Academy, the people in the courtyard were all shocked. This beautiful and devilishly charming girl was actually Luo Qingtong, who they had been mocking every day. They looked at the girl in front of them in shock. They felt that she was not what they had heard. Who said that Luo Qingtong was ordinary and that she was born in a low-level country like Dongli and was not presentable at all? If such a girl was not presentable, then most of the girls in the Tianyu Empire and even the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin were peasant women? The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. At this moment, someone suddenly remembered that if Luo Qingtong came back, Yuan Hu and the others would not have to leave the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and the Heavenly Palace. Then why did they come back? Thinking of this, the people in the courtyard changed their expressions. One of the people who seemed to be the leader shouted, "Yuan Hu, you have been expelled from the Heavenly Palace. Even if Luo Qingtong came back now, you have to find another residence to return to the Heavenly Palace." That's right. Another disciple of the Tianyu Empire also shouted, "This is where we live. This is the decision of the dragon group of the Heavenly Palace. You broke in like this. Are you going to go against the dragon group?" Before he could finish his sentence, Luo Qingtong had already lifted her foot and kicked him away. Bang! His body landed heavily on the ground and crashed into the gate of the courtyard at the back. Boom! The gate was knocked open, and before the crowd's gazes, it instantly shattered into pieces. "I'll give you 3 breaths of time." Luo Qingtong lifted her sleeves and brushed away the dust that was not on the tip of her shoes. She raised her head coldly and looked at the shocked crowd in front. "Get out of this manor and my sight. Otherwise, you can forget about leaving." Luo Qingtong's words angered the people in front of her. The other party's words were too arrogant. "Luo Qingtong, don't be complacent. I'm afraid you don't know what the dragon group of the Heavenly Palace is. His Highness King Wu won't let you do whatever you want. That's right. Don't be afraid of her. Luo Qingtong has just come back from the Saint Academy. Even if her strength has improved, she can't do anything to us who have cultivated in the Saint Academy for 1 or 2 years. Attack. Let her know the consequences of offending us." That's right. She forced us to attack her. At that time, even in front of the 5th prince, we will have something to say. Luo Qingtong's attack had angered them. They didn't even go to the square in front, so they didn't know how much Luo Qingtong's strength had grown. In their opinion, even if Luo Qingtong rushed back in time, so what if her strength increased by 1 level? He was at most an advanced martial king. But they were all at the peak of the martial king realm. They had already touched the threshold of the martial royal realm. Otherwise, they would not have been sent to the Heavenly Palace as Yuan Hu's replacement. Of course, Yuan Ma and Su Jinue wanted to humiliate Ling Tianhan and the others, but it was also because they had the strength to do so. Otherwise, even if they went in through the back door, it would not be enough to convince the masses. This was why so many people were not convinced when Yuan Hu and the others became heaven-grade students. Chapter 884. Do it. They only had eyes for Luo Qingtong and didn't take Yuan Hu and the others seriously. Luo Qingtong didn't intend to let Yuan Hu and the others intervene. It was indeed difficult for the freshmen to be compared with the seniors, whether in terms of strength or combat experience. But Luo Qingtong was different. Today, she would let these people and the people behind them know that her people were not to be trifled with. No matter how much they touched, they would return it to her. Back off, all of you. As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, Ling Tianhan and the others immediately retreated out of the gate. Boom! Luo Qingtong's aura exploded. She abruptly pulled out her Tempest sword and stabbed it into the marble floor in front of her. Rumble. Following Luo Qingtong's action, countless marble slabs burst into pieces in an instant. With her sword of wind and thunder as the center, the 6 feet thick marble floor was instantly shattered into pieces and powder by the energy she poured into it, shooting out in all directions. Bang! 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 The group of people was instantly sent flying by the powerful strength contained in the gravel. The strength of the martial royal realm and the martial king realm were incomparable. The quality of the strength was not on the same level. If the strength of the martial king realm was only fog, the strength of the martial royal realm had already condensed into liquid. In this case, Luo Qingtong probably didn't need to use half of her strength to beat these disciples of the Tianyu Empire. Bang! 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 Just as Luo Qingtong sent the disciples of the Tianyu Empire flying, Lu Long and the others who were resting in the depths of the courtyard were also alarmed. In an instant, several figures flew out from the courtyard. Seeing Luo Qingtong standing proudly in the center of the courtyard, Lu Long and the others' eyes flashed with a trace of amazement. However, this trace of amazement quickly turned into cold anger when he saw his subordinates being beaten to a pulp. Who are you? Why did you attack my people? Don't you know that we are from the Heavenly Palace's dragon group? Of course I know. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. She held the wind and thunder sword horizontally with one hand. The sound of wind and thunder circled around her, as if she was a goddess who had descended from the 9 heavens. I also know that you are Yuan Ma's lackeys. This manor belongs to my subordinates. Why do you think I'm here? As soon as Luo Qingtong spoke, Lu Long's expression froze. Luo Qingtong? His tone was both shocked and certain. Except for Luo Qingtong, no one would say that Yuan Hu and the others were her subordinates. The latter and the others were now like rats crossing the street. Everyone wanted to beat them up. Moreover, most of the people in the Heavenly Palace disdained to interact with them, who had obviously entered through the back door. The strong had their own pride. In the eyes of most of the people in the Heavenly Palace, except for Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Zhu, and Ling Tianhan who had his hand crippled before, they could barely be considered as qualified heavenly students. What right did the others have to appear in the Heavenly Palace with them? Luo Qingtong, you actually came back. Yuan Hu and the others are really lucky. But even so, you are not qualified to take back this courtyard. Lu Long sneered at Luo Qingtong. Chapter 885. Yuan Hu and the others had spent a great deal of effort to decorate this manor. More importantly, the Grand Supreme Dean had found the best mansions and courtyards for Luo Qingtong and the others, so that it would be convenient for Luo Qingtong to stay when she returned from her leave. Even if Luo Qingtong and the others found a few more mansions and courtyards and spent a great deal of effort to build another manor, the quality and effect of the spiritual qi inside would be far inferior to this manor. Otherwise, why would Yuan Ma and the others occupy this manor after they had chased Yuan Hu and the others away as a form of humiliation? It was because of the benefits. Before Luo Qingtong came, she had already heard about this from Yuan Hu and the others. Therefore, when she saw that Lu Long and the others refused to leave and even used the Sky Palace's dragon group as an excuse, she could not be bothered to waste her breath on them. She waved her sword and dashed towards them. If they refused to leave, she would beat them until they left. Luo Qingtong had come here to avenge Ling Tianhan and the others, so she had no intention of showing any mercy. Rumble. Luo Qingtong dashed out, leaving a deep white mark in the air. Seeing this, the two people beside Lu Long immediately rushed towards her. Arrogant. You. Before they could finish their words, the people inside, who were also at the peak of the martial king realm but were obviously more powerful than those outside, were instantly sent flying. You. Lu Long stared at Luo Qingtong in shock and anger, and the aura around him instantly increased. Luo Qingtong, don't go too far. Otherwise, even if you are the 5th prince's fiancé, I will not show any mercy. As he spoke, he revealed his martial royal realm cultivation. However, just as he finished speaking, Luo Qingtong's attack arrived. Boom! Luo Qingtong appeared beside him. She waved her hand, and the wind and thunder sword instantly swung horizontally towards Lu Long. Bang! Lu Long raised his hand to catch it. Just as he was about to counterattack, a violent and tyrannical force instantly blasted out from Luo Qingtong's wind and thunder sword. The strength of the aura was not the slightest bit inferior to his. In fact, it was even stronger than the aura that erupted from his body. Martial Emperor stage. Lu Long was shocked. Bang! His hands were numb from the shock, and in the next second, his figure was suddenly blasted away. Boom! Lu Long fell heavily on the ground in front of the disciples of the Tianyu Empire who were at the peak of the martial king realm. They looked at Lu Long in shock. He couldn't even take one move from Luo Qingtong. Looking at the terrifying power rippling around Luo Qingtong's body, his face instantly turned deathly pale. Martial Emperor stage. Luo Qingtong is actually a martial emperor. Their faces were pale, green, and black. Luo Qingtong's strength was completely beyond their imagination. Originally, they thought that Luo Qingtong, who had returned from a 3-month leave, had the strength of an advanced martial king realm, which was already a stroke of luck for Yuan Hu and the others. They didn't expect that Luo Qingtong's strength had directly advanced to the martial emperor stage. They finally knew why Luo Qingtong had the confidence to bring Yuan Hu and the others back to make trouble. With the talent and strength that Luo Qingtong had shown in this club, she indeed had the ability to drive them out of this manor. Luo Qingtong, don't be complacent. You have violated the decision of the Heavenly Palace's dragon group, Chapter 886. Ling Tianhan. Luo Qingtong's face was impassive. That pair of eyes, which were like clear spring water with traces of blood mist floating in it, was now dyed with the color of blood in layers. But soon, Luo Qingtong suppressed it. No, in the Saint Academy, she could not kill as she wished. Luo Qingtong suppressed the bloodlust that rose from the bottom of her heart. She asked Ling Tianhan to come to her side. How did he break your right hand? Do it again. I guarantee that his hand will never recover. Given Luo Qingtong's status, Ling Tianhan naturally believed her without a doubt. He walked towards Lu Long. Lu Long had already struggled with all his might when he heard Luo Qingtong's words. The way he broke Ling Tianhan's right hand was extremely cruel. In order to prevent the Ling family from competing with the royal family of Tianyu and threatening their rule, Ling Tianhan's hand had been broken. If he had not met Luo Qingtong, even if he had found a saint pharmacist to heal him, his muscles, bones, and flesh would never have been able to move as freely as before. Only Luo Qingtong's eye technique could remove the muscles and bones from Ling Tianhan's right hand. Even so, Ling Tianhan still had to strengthen and nourish his right hand before it could reach the strength of his left hand and other parts of his body. Lu Long had broken Ling Tianhan's hand according to his previous injury. And now, it was his turn to enjoy that feeling. Ling Tianhan would return all the pain he had suffered from his right hand all these years. No. Luo Qingtong, you can't do that. We are already members of the Sky Palace's dragon troop. Especially me, I've been accepted as an internal member. If you dare to do this to me, the 5th Prince and King Wu will not let you off. Is that so? Tell them, I'll be waiting. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. She lifted her foot and stomped. Ah! Lu Long screamed in pain. I'll leave them to you. Luo Qingtong said as she walked towards the courtyard. It doesn't matter if you hurt or cripple them. After you've vented your anger, throw them at the entrance of the Sky Palace's dragon troop. You gave me such a big gift the moment you came back. I should return the favor. The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was evil and cold. She had said that if these people did not leave within 3 breaths, they could forget about leaving. They would be carried out. And this was not the end of it. She wanted to strip them of their status as heavenly students. They said that her people were not qualified to stay. She would like to see who was not qualified. The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was cold. On the other hand, Luo Qingtong's, Yuan Hu said King Wu's heart. It's great that boss is back. They had been holding in their anger for so long, and they had finally vented it. As for the revenge of the dragon troop. Previously, the group of people was still worried sick at heart, but now, they had completely accepted it. After all, they had been holding it in for so long, but Yu Wenma and the dragon troop did not let them go. Now that boss had a duel with Yu Wenma, there was no need to be afraid of them. So what if they had offended them? With this thought in mind, the group of people immediately felt relieved. At the same time, in the main city of the Black Field, Yi Qianxian looked at the devilish man with a cold and bloodthirsty face. He almost crushed the armrest in his hand. Chapter 887. With Yi Qianming's words, the temperature in the hall instantly dropped. Bei Qing and Feng Yu, who were beside Yi Qianming, were crying bitterly in their hearts. Oh my God! If they knew that the king of the southern mountain range was here for the evil doctor, they would have blocked the golden light that was sent to their master and sent the king of the southern mountain range far away. This was great, he had angered his master. Evil doctor, don't think about abandoning our master to be with another man. Their master was very terrifying when he was angry. Once the heavenly vein physique was fully unleashed, the power would be earth-shattering. Yi Qianming was only suppressing his strength because of the hidden danger in his body. It had been a long time since he used his true strength. If Luo Qingtong really fell in love with someone else and didn't want Yi Qianming anymore, they could guarantee that their master would go crazy. At that time, the world would be shocked and the four seas would be shocked. The evil doctor might be fine, but they, Bei Qing and Feng Yu, had bitter faces as they shivered in the cold air around Yi Qianming. They were cursing the visiting Yu Sihuang in their hearts. The latter also noticed the cold aura around Yi Qianming and raised his eyebrows. That's right. The man was wearing a purple robe. He was wearing a dark robe embroidered with the iris flower. It made the man's skin look like snow and he looked like a demon. That gorgeous robe could only be described as feminine if it was worn by an ordinary person. However, Yu Sihuang used his face that was even more bewitching than a woman's face to make the robe give off a graceful and charming feeling. His seductive charm was not feminine at all. Those who saw him would be stunned by his devilishly handsome face, but they would never mistake him for a woman. His charm was domineering and cold. At this moment, he stroked the mole at the corner of his eye and smiled softly. I have indeed fallen in love with the evil doctor. I would like to ask the Lord to help me tell the evil doctor to show himself. To relieve my yearning. That time when Yu Sihuang woke up in the mountain range, he discovered that his heart disease had been cured. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's alchemy and the huge cauldron in front of her, Yu Sihuang easily guessed the identity of the girl in the mountain range. She was the famous evil Dr. Ghost Eye of the Black Field and even the entire eastern domain. Even when he was in the southern region, he had heard of this person's name. He never imagined that he would run into this person while he was heavily injured. Moreover, she had saved his life and cured his heart disease. What was even more unexpected was that evil Dr. Ghost Eye, who was rumored to be in a homosexual relationship with Black Field's Ming Zun, was actually a woman. In Yu Sihuang's mind, the scene of Luo Qingtong killing a Sage Realm expert with the help of the heavenly thunder flashed through his mind. His eyes shone with an indescribable brilliance. After he returned to the southern mountain range, he immediately dealt with those who dared to betray him. After that, he spent some time stabilizing the situation in the 3 islands and 7 territories. Therefore, only now did he have the time to come to the Black Field to look for Luo Qingtong. But he never thought that the Black Field's Ming Zun actually had homosexual feelings for evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Yu Sihuang thought that this was just a rumor on the street. But now, it seemed that it was true. He just didn't know whether the other party knew that evil Dr. Ghost Eye was a woman or not. Yu Sihuang thought so, but he was not prepared to back down. Chapter 888. The golden throne under Yi Qianming was instantly smashed into powder by his uncontrollable strength. Then, in the next second, Yi Qianming's figure suddenly flew up and rushed towards Yu Sihuang. Bang! The moment Yu Sihuang spoke, he paid close attention to Yi Qianming's movements. When he saw Yi Qianming's figure disappear from the throne, his figure also flew up at the same time. Boom! The chair that Yu Sihuang was sitting on was smashed into pieces by Yi Qianming's aura. His figure flashed outwards. Ming Zun, I won't give up. This was the territory of the Black Field. Yu Sihuang wouldn't be stupid enough to fight with Yi Qianming. But he wouldn't give up on Luo Qingtong either. Bang! What answered him was Yi Qianming's attack with a wave of his sleeve. Boom! The power of the two collided in mid-air. Then Yu Sihuang's figure disappeared from the main hall. Go to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Sensing that the opponent's aura had completely disappeared from the main hall and even the entire eastern region, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth and said coldly. Yes. Bei Qing and Feng Yu wiped their sweat and answered. At the same time, in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, Luo Qingtong was frowning and looking at Su Xiaoxiao and the others opposite her. So, you're saying that the Heavenly Dragon Group is actually a private force established by King Wu of the Empire of Qin and has nothing to do with the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin? Yes. Su Xiaoxiao and the others nodded. Boss, you just came to the Holy Academy, so you don't know. The Holy Academy encourages students to fight with each other in order to improve their strength. As long as no one dies, everything else is up to you. Therefore, various forces have been born in the Holy Academy to fight for resources. Students who don't rely on forces are either extremely powerful and don't fear those forces, or most of their resources have been taken away. Little Tyrant Yuan said, feeling very indignant. At this moment. Ouch! He jumped up abruptly, hugging his feet as he jumped up and down. Sima Ju. Why did you step on me? Yuan Little Overlord glared at the fairy-like young man sitting beside him. The latter looked at him speechlessly for a while. Her delicate face, which was usually expressionless, could not help but twitch a little. He looked at Luo Qingtong and said, Boss, don't listen to Yuan Hu's nonsense. In fact, the power struggle in the Saint Academy is not that serious. As he spoke, his voice became softer and softer under Luo Qingtong's gaze. So, all of you were robbed of your resources? Luo Qingtong tapped the table in front of her and said indifferently. Of course, she knew what Sima Ju meant. He just didn't want her to worry about their matters and get into more trouble. However, he didn't realize that as soon as he came here, he had slapped the face of the Grand Elder of the Sacred Institute, and trampled on the members of the Council of Elders for the Grand Principal and the others. Based on this point alone, her days in the Holy Academy would not be peaceful anymore. Not to mention, she had also made a bet with Yu Wenma. This even offended a group of people who were on good terms with Yu Wenma. Since the people in the Sky Palace Dragon Group were ordered by Yu Wenma to make trouble for them, then in the future, no matter whether she would provoke them or not, they would definitely come to find her. In this case, what was the point of keeping a low profile? She wanted to let the people of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin know that she, Luo Qingtong, was not to be trifled with. Chapter 889. Luo Qingtong did not intend to keep a low profile when she returned to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin from the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty. She wanted to be as high profile as possible. She wanted to slap them in the face. She wanted to let the Holy Academy, and even this strange world, know the name of Luo Qingtong. You have to know that if you retreat again and again, the final result will only be that there is no way to retreat. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. I taught you the wolf pack rule before, and now I want to teach you another rule, which is the lone wolf rule. When you are in a weak position, avoiding is the way to preserve your strength. But there are some things that you can't give up. In this world, Why are the weak always weak, and the strong always strong? Because of strength, because of talent? No. It is because of resources. In the 24th century, where information was exploding and capital was devouring each other, Luo Qingtong knew better than anyone the importance of resources and heritage. A weak person can rely on plundered resources to become strong. And a strong person can also be overtaken by others because of insufficient resources and unable to improve his strength. Why can the children of those big forces and families be above most people? Unless they are really trash who can't cultivate, even if they are ordinary people, can they be stronger than the geniuses of the inferior countries? Because of their families, their heritage, and their resources, it is enough to turn them from a person who would have absolutely no future in an inferior country to an ordinary expert. No matter how powerful a genius is, if he is not nurtured from a young age and does not have enough resources, even if he can rely on his own talent to go a long way, how long can he go? He can compare with those ordinary geniuses, but can he compare with the strong people of the same level? Talent and strength are important, but resources are also important. And more important. Without resources, your strength can't improve, but the strength of others can. In this way, you will only become weaker and weaker, and others will only become stronger and stronger. So when others come to rob your resources, you should protect the food you rely on like a lone wolf. Whoever dares to rob, you will not let him go even if you die. Force the other party to not dare to rob your resources and rob your strength promotion opportunity. Otherwise, if the other party increases their strength, you can only be bullied in this life. So tell us, how did you do it? As heaven rank students, you enjoy more resources than ordinary students, but your auras haven't increased at all. Aren't you letting me down? Luo Qingtong's voice became colder and colder. With your current state, what qualifications do you have to follow me? Luo Qingtong said. She slammed the table in front of her and suddenly stood up. Boss. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Su Xiaoxiao and the others panicked. Boss, don't abandon us. We were wrong. We won't do it again. At this moment, Su Xiaoxiao's eyes turned red and she knelt in front of Luo Qingtong. Boss, it's me. It's all my fault. Her eyes were red and tears kept falling down her cheeks. She sniffled and said, Boss, Yuan Hu and the others wouldn't have run out of resources. It was those people who threatened them. They said that if they didn't give them the resources, they wouldn't let me come into contact with those precious cultivation facilities that could assist in refining medicine. Chapter 890. When Su Xiaoxiao said this, she was so sad that she started to cry. Before she met Luo Qingtong, her character had always been very weak. She was timid. After she met Luo Qingtong, she slowly became stronger. Now that she thought that Luo Qingtong didn't want them anymore, her weak character came out again. Boss, Qingtong. Don't blame them. It's all my fault. It's fine if you don't want me. Don't abandon them. As she spoke, she began to wail in grief. It's my fault. Boss. Don't blame Xiaoxiao. We are useless. We can't deal with those people from the Dragon Group. We can't guard the resources you earned for us. When Yuan Hu and the others saw Su Xiaoxiao like this, their eyes also turned red. As the combat alchemist in their team, Su Xiaoxiao was also soft and cute. She was also the youngest. Everyone treated her like a little sister. Even if they knew that she was a little white rabbit with steel teeth, they still couldn't help but dote on her and help her. Therefore, when the people from the Sky Palace's Dragon Group threatened them with Su Xiaoxiao's growth, they quickly compromised. After all, they knew how difficult it was for Su Xiaoxiao to reach this step with her talent that others thought was trash. They couldn't let those people destroy her opportunity to improve her alchemy ability. Moreover, they didn't think so much at that time. They only thought that without those resources, they could still rely on themselves to improve their strength. They might not necessarily be worse than others. However, if Su Xiaoxiao didn't have the opportunity to come into contact with those precious cultivation facilities, she definitely wouldn't be able to improve her alchemist level in the future. With this thought in mind, they handed over their resources. When Luo Qingtong reminded them, they finally understood. Without resources, they could indeed rely on themselves to improve their strength. However, they wouldn't be on the same level as others. Those people could bully them now. In the future, when their strength was too weak, they would be even more unscrupulous. The real thing to do was to fight back with all their might. While protecting their own resources, they would think of a way for Su Xiaoxiao to get rid of the other party's threat. "Boss, we were wrong." Yuan Hu and the others lowered their heads deeply. "I was the one who suggested this. Boss, punish me. It's fine if you don't want me. Don't abandon them." Ling Tianhan took a deep breath and stood out. He was the calmest among them, so everyone was willing to listen to him. However, there were disadvantages to being steady in doing things. He thought too much and had too many concerns. He didn't have Luo Qingtong's ability to hit the nail on the head and see through the essence. Therefore, when Su Xiaoxiao was threatened, he chose to compromise with those people and help Su Xiaoxiao improve her strength first. After all, her talent in the Pharmaceutical Institute was really good, and her future was far better than theirs. "No. Boss, punish me." Yuan Hu puffed out his chest and stood up. "I also agree with this proposal." Although Ling Tianhan was the one who suggested this idea, he was the one who made a fuss about handing over his resources to help Su Xiaoxiao. Half of Ling Tianhan's train of thought was led astray by him. Sima Ju didn't say anything and also stood out silently. Since he did not object, he was naturally in the wrong. Otherwise, Ling Tianhan would have considered his idea. Ling Yu also stood out. She was the same as Yuan Hu, the impulsive type. "Why don't you punish me alone? Anyway, there are 3 people in the Ling family. You want my brother and Tianchen? Kick me out." She lowered her head and played with the long whip in her hand. "Don't abandon them." "No, enough." Luo Qingtong looked at them, feeling angry and amused. Her stomach full of anger was about to be extinguished by these clowns. Chapter 891. Luo Qingtong's voice became extremely cold as she spoke. She could punish her people however she wanted. However, she could not allow others to make them suffer losses. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold as she looked at them and asked, "The people who stole your resources are from the Sky Palace Dragon Group?" "Yes." Su Xiaoxiao and the others stood obediently after hearing that Luo Qingtong did not want them. "It's them. However, it should be Yuan Ma's orders." Su Xiaoxiao wiped away the tears in her eyes. The Sky Palace Dragon Group is very powerful in the Sky Palace. Other than the Guiyuan Group established by the Crown Prince, they are the most powerful force. She looked at Ling Tianhan as she spoke. He should know more about these things than she did and explained it in more detail. "Yes." Seeing Su Xiaoxiao's gaze, Ling Tianhan continued her words and nodded. "Boss, Xiaoxiao is right. However, she is talking about the past. Now, the Sky Palace Dragon Group established by King Wu is considered the most powerful force in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin." Ling Tianhan spoke carefully to Luo Qingtong. The Crown Prince started to decline a few years ago and King Wu overtook him. Now, the Sky Palace Dragon Group is catching up with the Guiyuan Group. The reason why the Guiyuan Group is still number 1 on the surface is because of the Crown Prince's status as the Crown Prince and his strength. He was already number 1 in the Saint Academy many years ago. Ling Tianhan continued, however, King Wu's strength has increased rapidly in the past few years. He is not far from the Crown Prince on the Soaring Dragon list. As for the Crown Prince, his strength has not increased in the past few years. And the ranking of the top geniuses of the Great Qin Sacred Academy among the 4 sacred academies has dropped from second to last. Ling Tianhan could not help but shake his head. If not for this, the Sky Palace Dragon Group would not be so arrogant. It is said that King Wu also said that he will replace the Crown Prince as number 1 in the Saint Academy this year and lead the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin to defeat the other 3 Saint Academies. Because of this, King Wu is in the limelight now and the Sky Palace Dragon Group is very arrogant. Yes. Yuan Hu said, "Boss, you just came here and did not know." Before the Crown Prince disappeared, the Sky Palace Dragon Group dominated the Sky Palace Dragon Group. At that time, the forces formed by the various Heaven Stage students were all competing with each other. Everyone went back and forth, snatching resources based on their own abilities. No one was afraid of the other. As long as they could win the Sky Palace Dragon Group, they would to win the Palace Dragon Group. But ever since the Martial King rose to power and the Dragon Group took over the leading position, he began to gather the forces of the Sacred Academy. Their resources were plundered. Now, the Sky Palace Dragon Group is the most powerful group. Only the Crown Prince's Sky Palace Dragon Group will have some scruples. Yuan Hu slapped his forehead and said, "Oh yes, when we were targeted by the Sky Palace Dragon Group, the Crown Prince's Sky Palace Dragon Group helped us out." Chapter 892. Yuan Hu felt indignant as he spoke. Not for anything else, but the method used by the Dragon Group was simply too shameless. Su Xiaoxiao was the main target of the pharmaceutical institution and was a rare genius. Coupled with the attention of the master of the pharmaceutical institution and the Grand President, no matter how overboard the Dragon Group was, they would not dare to openly target her. Not to mention, they would not let her come into contact with the cultivation facilities that assisted in refining medicine. If they did so, there would be no need for Su Xiaoxiao to complain. The teachers of the sacred institution would naturally come looking for them. But the Dragon Group was treacherous. How did they do it? They had sent people to guard the cultivation facilities. As soon as they saw Su Xiaoxiao, a group of people would immediately stand in front of the cultivation facilities and queue up. How many people were there in the Sky Palace's Dragon Group? Almost 1/10 of the Sky Palace's students. Under such circumstances, even if they only took out a small part or even a small group of people, it was enough to make Su Xiaoxiao queue from dawn to dawn the next day without being able to get the opportunity to train at the cultivation facility. They had used such a method to shamelessly prevent Su Xiaoxiao from coming into contact with the cultivation facilities and prevent others from using it against them. Otherwise, how could Yuan Hu and the rest give in so easily and listen to their threats and give their resources to them? It was because this method was too shameless. For Su Xiaoxiao's future advancement, they had no choice but to do so. After hearing Yuan Hu's words, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. "His Highness the Crown Prince helped you?" The reason why she did not mention the Guiyuan regiment but the Crown Prince was because Luo Qingtong knew that if it was not for Ma Chenye's instructions, the Guiyuan regiment would not have been so nosy. After all, the Crown Prince had been quiet and did not give King Wu a chance to be aggressive. After Luo Qingtong returned to the Chu dynasty, she had also investigated the Empire of Qin dynasty in the Black Field. After the rise of King Wu, Ma Chenye had begun to lay low. This was a smart move. After all, Ma Chenye's dragon qi was constantly being drained. Under such circumstances, it was the stupidest thing to do. Mo Chenxian might be eager for Ma Chenye to fight him with the art of seizing luck. In this way, in close contact, he could absorb more providence, and the draconic aura lost from Ma Chenye's body would be more powerful. Fortunately, the dragon energy in Ma Chenye's body had already taken shape. If it had been absorbed by Mo Chenxian like this before it took shape, it would have collapsed long ago. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she raised her hand and gently rubbed her chin. Ma Chenyi even ordered people to protect Yuan Hu and the others. The Ling family must have thought of Ling Tianhan and the others after they returned from the Tianyu Empire, so they gave the order. "TSK, I owe him a big favor." Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. This Ma Chenyi is quite interesting. This was the first time that Luo Qingtong did not even have the slightest thought of rejecting a gift and a favor to this extent. Luo Qingtong was a person who could be persuaded by reason, but not cowed by force. Ma Chenyi first gave the medicine and the Dharma access, and then he ordered people to protect Yuan Hu and the others. Even if he had a request and his purpose was not pure, Luo Qingtong was still willing to accept this favor. After all, standing in his position, it was already very rare that he did not use any coercion or enticement. Moreover, that King Wu. Luo Qingtong really did not like him. Not to mention that he was with Yu Wenma, the person behind him was the heavenly doctor, which was enough for Luo Qingtong to take action. How dare he covet her man? She would let the other party know that not just anyone could take a fancy to her. At least, not her man. Let's go. Let's go to the Gue Yuan regiment first. Chapter 893. At the same time, she could also give the crown prince some interest. When Luo Qingtong went to the Gue Yuan group, a group of people were left at the place where Yu Wenma was. Lu Long. Yu Wenma rushed over after receiving the news. When he saw the group of people lying on the ground, he was shocked and angry. "Why are you like this? Why are you here?" Among the group of people, the two who were the least injured were from the Tianyu Branch Academy who entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin along with Su Xiaoxiao. They said, "Brother Yu Wenma, it's Luo Qingtong. She told Ling Tianhan to do this." Their voices sounded like they were crying. Luo Qingtong originally wanted to throw these people to the dragon group of the Sky Palace. But thinking that these people were sent by Yu Wenma, it would be better to throw them here and slap them in the face. So, she asked Ling Tianhan to throw them here. The limbs of the group of people were all broken. They were thrown there like dumplings and stacked on top of each other. The few people who had insulted Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao were completely unconscious. Lu Long was placed on top of the pile of dumplings. His right hand was completely broken. Ling Tianhan used the same method that the Lu family's people used to break his hand, and forcibly broke Lu Long's hand. And just like how Lu Long broke his hand, he added more injuries to the wound. Lu Long's right hand was in a terrible state. Yu Wenma looked at it and was extremely angry. He was angry because Luo Qingtong didn't give him face and insisted on going against him. He was also angry because Luo Qingtong broke Lu Long's hand. Lu Long was one of his capable subordinates and his most important confidant. He was preparing to train him to work for him in the future. In this situation, how could Lu Long continue to work for him? And if he trained other people, let's not talk about whether they could be as loyal and trustworthy as Lu Long, who had been with him all the way from the Empire of Tianyu. Even the talent of those people might not be able to compare to Lu Long. Those who were more talented than him were mostly the disciples of the Empire of Qin's sacred dynasty. Even if those people wanted to become Ling Tianhan's confidants, he would not agree. Who knew when he would be sold? Luo Qingtong was forcing him to rely on the martial king in the future, and unable to cultivate his own forces. Thinking of this, Yu Wenma gritted his teeth. He couldn't tell if he was more angry or regretful. Luo Qingtong. He thought of the beautiful figure standing proudly in the square. In that instant, the girl's figure was like a goddess bathed in divine light. Even Yu Wenma was deeply captivated. However, what the other party threw at him was a letter of annulment. Now, he even led those people from the Ling family to break the limbs of his trusted aide. Senior Marshal brother, don't be angry. This Luo Qingtong is too much. She really doesn't take you seriously at all. Seeing the anger on Yu Wenma's face, Su Jinue was secretly happy. Originally, when Luo Qingtong came back, Yu Wenma asked people to call Lu Long and the others back. It was she who stopped them. Seeing that Luo Qingtong really had a conflict with Lu Long and the others, Su Jinue was delighted. She wouldn't let Luo Qingtong and Yu Wenma live happily. She must make Yu Wenma hate Luo Qingtong, the more the better. Chapter 894. She comforted him, "Senior brother, she is so arrogant. The Sky Palace's dragon group will definitely not let them off." It was the Sky Palace's dragon group who ordered Lu Long and the others to occupy the place where Su Xiaoxiao and the others lived. Luo Qingtong and the others drove them out. Not only was it a slap to Yu Wenma's face, but it was also a slap to the Sky Palace's dragon group and King Wu's face. Let's see how she will suffer in the future. As Su Jinue was thinking about this, Yu Wenma's cold voice sounded. "This is between me and her. King Wu doesn't need to intervene. Tell the Sky Palace's dragon group that they don't need to interfere." Su Jinue exploded when she heard this. "Senior brother. That Luo Qingtong didn't care about your face at all. Not only did she break off the engagement in public, but she also beat up Lu Long and the others. Are you just going to let it go?" As she spoke, she was jealous and said angrily, "What's more, do you think you can just ignore it? King Wu might not let them off. Don't forget, the Crown Prince has helped Ling Tianhan and the others several times. Using this opportunity, they might be able to force the Crown Prince to take action. How could King Wu let Luo Qingtong and the others go? That would be a breakthrough for them to deal with the Crown Prince and the Gue Yuan clique." Previously, Su Xiaoxiao and the others' tolerance and compromise made the dragon group unable to find a reason to take action. Now, they had an excuse. How could they let them off? Moreover, there's still Mo Yufei. She also likes you. As the princess of the royal family, will King Wu listen to us or her? Su Jinue said coldly. At the mention of Mo Yufei, she also felt a burst of jealousy. The princess of the Empire of Qin's dynasty had been pampered since she was a child and was very arrogant. If Yu Wenma hadn't insisted on not breaking off the engagement and became her father's disciple, she might have been suppressed by the other party and couldn't get close to Yu Wenma at all. Su Jinue had already informed Mo Yufei of the news. She wanted to see how the latter could be a match for Luo Qingtong. She only needed to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. With the Heavenly Palace's dragon group here, she was waiting to see how miserable Luo Qingtong's life in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin would be. Thinking of this, Su Jinue finally felt a little better. When Yu Wenma heard her words, his expression also changed. Mo Yufei, Princess Yufei of the Empire of Qin Holy Dynasty. Yu Wenma also had a headache. It was impossible for him to break off the engagement with Luo Qingtong. But Mo Yufei kept pressing on. Now that Luo Qingtong had come to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, she would not let her go. Yu Wenma would never let her ruin his plan. With that thought in mind, he immediately walked toward the Heavenly Palace's dragon group. "I'll go find His Highness King Wu." As soon as he said that, Su Jinue snorted softly and said, "His Highness King Wu said that he might have a breakthrough in the dragon qi in his body this month. He has already applied to go out and gain experience. He's not in the sacred institution. Therefore, Luo Qingtong would definitely not be able to escape from Princess Yufei's difficulties. Let's see how she's going to end up in such a miserable state." Princess Yufei was very good at torturing people. While Su Jinue was thinking about this, Luo Qingtong, Su Xiaoxiao, and the others were stopped outside the courtyard of the Gue Yuan clan's Machenyi. "Are you Luo Qingtong?" Outside the Gue Yuan clan's residence, when Luo Qingtong and the others arrived, there were already several people waiting there. Chapter 895. She was wearing a red robe. However, the gorgeous robe on her was not as gorgeous as the simple red robe on Luo Qingtong. If the red on Luo Qingtong's robe was set off by her own appearance, it made the simple red robe look as bright as the morning sun. In that case, the girl was just a simple ball of fire. Although bright, it was not as dazzling and eye-catching as Luo Qingtong's. Luo Qingtong's charm was enough to distinguish her from the other party. When they stood together, it was even more obvious who was superior. Seeing this scene, a trace of anger flashed across the face of the gorgeous girl. In the whispers of the woman beside her, she looked at Luo Qingtong with an even more unfriendly expression. She directly walked in front of Luo Qingtong and stopped her. A low-class person from a low-class country. The beautiful girl played with the whip inlaid with jewels and jade in her hand. She looked up at Luo Qingtong and said coldly, "What qualifications do you have to come to my brother Crown Prince's place? You want to ask to see my brother Crown Prince? Don't you know who you are? Aren't you afraid of dirtying my brother Crown Prince's place?" Mo Yufei looked at Luo Qingtong with disdain. There was a trace of jealousy and annoyance in her eyes. The other party was Yu Wenma's fiancé who refused to break off the engagement. Mo Yufei did not think that Yu Wenma refused to break off the engagement because of Luo Qingtong. She only thought that he refused to break off the engagement because of his affection and righteousness. Therefore, she was even more infatuated with him. But at this moment, looking at Luo Qingtong who appeared in front of her, she felt an indescribable discomfort in her heart. The other party looked like this, and her charm and temperament did not lose to her in the slightest. How did she look like someone from a low-class country? Even Mo Yufei could not compare to Luo Qingtong's natural elegance and grace. Luo Qingtong was a supreme ocular sorcerer in her previous life. She stood at the top of the ability world in the 24th century. How could she lack the temperament of a superior? Even Feng Wuan's temperament could not compare to her, let alone the arrogant Mo Yufei who was just an ordinary royal princess. Luo Qingtong looked at the person blocking her way in front of her, and Su Xiaoxiao and the others who were filled with righteous indignation and were about to rush out to argue with the other party. When the latter and the others heard that Luo Qingtong was insulted, their faces flushed red, and they almost rushed up to fight with Mo Yufei. In front of Luo Qingtong, why would they care if she was a princess? She dared to insult boss. For Su Xiaoxiao and Luo Qingtong was Luo Qingtong's, Luo Qingtong. No matter what was done to them, they could endure it. And Luo Qingtong. A good dog doesn't block the way. Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at the beautiful young girl who was obviously of an extraordinary background standing in front of her. She was not prepared to give her any face. If the other party expected her to endure and bow her head like the others, then they were wrong. It was not that Luo Qingtong would not bow her head, but it was obvious that the person in front of her was not qualified. Report to your crown prince that Luo Qingtong came to visit. After Luo Qingtong finished speaking, she directly said to the guards outside the courtyard. The latter and the others were very well trained. It could be seen that Ma Chunyi treated the people of the Gue Yuan group as his trusted subordinates. The people who came out of here in the future would definitely be the core of his forces. Those people took the words and went in to report. Mo Yufei gritted her teeth so hard that she almost broke her teeth. What did you just call me? Mo Yufei could not believe that Luo Qingtong actually called her a dog. How dare this woman? Chapter 896. A cold light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. Right at this moment, a stern shout suddenly rang out in the courtyard. Stop! Yufei, you've gone too far. While speaking, Ma Chunyi, who had received a report from someone outside that Luo Qingtong was here, hurriedly put down what he was doing and walked out of the courtyard. Seeing this scene, a cold and fierce look flashed across his face, and he immediately snatched the whip from Mo Yufei's hand. With a bang, He spat out the energy in his hand and instantly shattered the extremely luxurious and beautiful whip inlaid with jewels and jade into pieces. "You're too ridiculous." Ma Chunyi looked at Mo Yufei coldly and threw the whip back to her. "Brother Crown Prince." Mo Yufei looked at him in disbelief. "You actually broke my favorite whip for a woman like that?" "Why?" Mo Yufei's face was full of anger. She had waited outside for a long time, but Ma Chunyi said he was busy and had no time to see her. Why did he come out when this woman came? Thinking of this, Mo Yufei gritted her teeth and said, "Brother Crown Prince, do you like this woman? How can you face Sister Qingwei like this? She is infatuated with you and has been waiting for you all this time. Sister Qingwei is the #1 on the Young Phoenix list of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. How can she be inferior to this woman?" She raised her hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong. Before the latter had any reaction, little gangster Yuan and the others behind her were completely enraged. "What are you talking about? Mo Yufei, don't think that everyone is like you who likes to be cheap and chase after men." Yuan Hu and the others were furious. Luo Qingtong originally brought them here to thank Ma Chunyi for protecting them before. Now it seemed that they didn't come here to thank him. Instead, they were embarrassed. This Princess Yufei was not normal before. She was the princess of the royal family of the Empire of Qin. How could she be jealous of Su Jinhua and Yuan Ma, a man she was engaged to? They all blushed for her and the royal family of the Empire of Qin. How shameless! How dare they say that their boss is here to curry favor with the crown prince? Did she think that everyone was like her and Su Jinhua? The words of little overlord Yuan and the others immediately angered Mo Yufei. She pointed at Luo Qingtong, Yuan Hu, and the others and said, "Okay. If you're not here to curry favor with my crown prince Gij, then tell me, why are you looking for him? Aren't you here to ask him for help?" Mo Yufei sneered. She already knew that Luo Qingtong and the others had dealt with Lu Long and the others who had occupied their courtyard. Under such circumstances, they had slapped the dragon regiment in the face. How could they not be here to ask for Crown Prince Gij's help? In the heavenly hall of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, where the heaven-grade students gathered, no other student force could compete with the dragon regiment except for Crown Prince Gij's Guiyuan regiment. If Luo Qingtong had the ability, she would say that she didn't need Crown Prince Gij's help. At that time, she would be punished by the dragon regiment. As Mo Yufei said this, she suddenly raised her head high. Luo Qingtong didn't bother to pay attention to her at all. She didn't come back to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin to compete with a brainless girl like Mo Yufei. Yuan Hu and the others' words were enough to let her know the identity of the girl opposite her and why she was so against her. But it didn't matter. She wanted to humiliate herself. Then come on. In the Grand Qin Sacred Academy, how many open spears and hidden arrows were there? She had to face them all. Chapter 897. Lend me some people, and I'll give you a big gift in return. They must be absolutely trusted and powerful. They'd better not be too much weaker than you, Luo Qingtong said slowly. This was her first big gift since she came to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. It was a little interest for Ma Chunyi for giving her medicine and protecting Su Xiaoxiao. Okay. Ma Chunyi agreed without hesitation. Luo Qingtong's charm in the square had completely conquered him. He didn't ask why Luo Qingtong wanted these people, whether it was to deal with the dragon regiment of the Heavenly Palace. Because of the dragon chi in his body, the people of the Guiyuan regiment were not suitable to fight with the people of the dragon regiment for the time being. But Ma Chunyi didn't care at all whether Luo Qingtong would lead his people to fight with the people of the dragon regiment, which would give Mo Chenxian an excuse to take action. After all, the people he wanted to lend to Luo Qingtong were all the backbone and top geniuses of the Guiyuan regiment. At that time, he couldn't get away with it even if he wanted to. But he still lent them. Hearing Ma Chunye's words, the backbone of the Gui Yuan regiment behind him suddenly called out worriedly, "Your Highness. It's okay. Listen to Luo Qingtong." Here, only Ma Chunye knew the identity of Luo Qingtong best. She was a girl who was conferred the title of Princess of the Great Chu with her own ability. Ma Chunye believed that she wouldn't cheat him. If he really made a wrong bet, then it was only a matter of time before he fought with Mo Chunxian. Ma Chunye lowered his eyes slightly. He looked at his own body. The dragon qi in his body had recovered a little. After paying special attention to it these days, Ma Chunye had believed that his previous feelings were not an illusion. His dragon qi hadn't been absorbed by anyone for a long time. This was a rare time for him to be relaxed and comfortable over the years. Even the dragon aura that had formed in his body slowly stretched its body and recovered some of its energy. Under such circumstances, Ma Chunye couldn't help but suspect that Luo Qingtong had helped him when he met her in the Tianyu Empire. Perhaps it was a special technique that evil Dr. Ghost Eye had taught her? No matter what, Ma Chunye accepted this favor. Therefore, when the other party said that he wanted to borrow people, he agreed without hesitation. Firstly, he believed in Luo Qingtong. Secondly, he wanted to return the favor. If Luo Qingtong could ask the demonic Dr. Ghost Eye or even that person from the Black Field to help him remove the hidden danger in his body, then so what if he handed over the entire Gui Yuan group to the other party? However, Luo Qingtong may not be willing to take over his Gui Yuan group. Ma Chunye looked at the young girl's eyes, which were like clear spring water that washed away the sunset glow. Her eyes were filled with confidence and dominance. It seemed like the situation in the heavenly palace of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin was about to change. He just didn't know if those people on the Soaring Dragon list and Young Phoenix list were ready. Ma Chunye looked at Luo Qingtong's eyes and smiled. On the other side, Mo Yufei stamped her feet and spoke. "Brother Crown Prince, how could you just agree to her? She definitely wants to borrow your people to deal with the people from the dragon group. Didn't you not want to be enemies with Brother Xian?" As she spoke, she raised her head angrily and pointed at Luo Qingtong. "And you? Luo Qingtong. Didn't you say that you didn't come to cling to my brother Crown Prince? What are you doing now? Borrowing people from him? Don't think that you don't want to ask my brother Crown Prince for help. A woman like you is fickle and fickle. First you didn't let go of Yuanma, and now you seduce my brother Crown Prince. I." As she spoke, she wanted to slap Luo Qingtong. Chapter 898. Ah! Mo Yufei's voice suddenly screamed. "Luo Qingtong. You actually dared to hit me." She clutched her 5 fingers that had been broken in the middle, and the pain made her tear up instantly. Luo Qingtong was extremely ruthless. The bones in Mo Yufei's fingers were protruding. As a princess of the imperial family, Mo Yufei had never suffered like this. She screamed and cried at the same time. Luo Qingtong looked at her coldly. "I forgot to tell you." She raised her hand to tidy up her sleeves and said indifferently, "I hate it when people point their fingers at my head. The next time you do this, I'll break both your hands. And, I guarantee that you won't be able to cure it." "En?" Luo Qingtong said and turned to leave with Su Xiaoxiao and the others. As for Mo Yufei, Ma Chunye would naturally deal with her. "Send your people to find me tomorrow. Remember to bring the information about the dragon regiment. I'll give you a big gift then, don't thank me too much." Luo Qingtong raised her hand and waved as she spoke, without even turning her head. "Okay." Ma Chunye nodded in a low voice. "Brother Crown Prince." Mo Yufei's voice was sharp. "My fingers were broken by that bitch. How could you just stand there and watch? I'll definitely tell father when I go back." Mo Yufei was furious to the extreme. She had just desperately asked the people behind her to attack. But Ma Chunye's people had all the people behind her under control. As her brother, Ma Chunye actually sided with that bitch Luo Qingtong. And he still said that he didn't like her. She really should let Yuan Mo know what kind of person Luo Qingtong was. She should let him completely give up on Luo Qingtong. Even if he won the bet, he wouldn't want that woman. Your fingers were broken by yourself. I saw it with my own eyes. Ma Chunye looked at her coldly. The elegant and weak young man, who was like a clear spring, straightened his back like a javelin and exuded a domineering aura. The aura of a king was fully displayed. In addition, put away your petty thoughts. Don't think about using the power of the royal family of the Empire of Qin to deal with Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, you know what I'm capable of. In addition, you don't need to lobby for Mo Chunxian anymore. As long as his forces fall into my hands, I won't let any of them go. The dormant dragon of the Empire of Qin revealed his iron-blooded aura. After so many years, all the arrogance had all turned into gentleness and elegance. From the stormy waves of the storm to the soft willow village of fireworks in March. So that everyone forgot how arrogant he used to be when he looked down on the royal family of the Empire of Qin and was respected as the true dragon crown prince of the Empire of Qin. He was respected as a rare true dragon in the Empire of Qin. Now, he would spread his wings again and tell everyone that he was back. At the same time, thousands of miles away, a gorgeous and huge flying boat was rapidly flying towards the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At night, a huge black shadow silently and invisibly covered the sky above the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. In the next second, a figure suddenly rushed out of it. In an instant, it passed through the layers of protection covering the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and appeared in the courtyard where Luo Qingtong and others lived. In the room, Luo Qingtong was sitting on the bed with her index finger tapping the edge of the bed. With her eyes slightly closed, she was thinking about her future plans in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At this moment, she seemed to sense something and opened her eyes at once. Chapter 899. A pair of hands suddenly appeared in front of her, hugged her, and pressed her down on the bed. Luo Qingtong's eyes instantly turned cold. The color of blood in her eyes quickly rose. In an instant, the red color that seemed to pervade a clear spring quickly filled her entire pupils, turning into a color as bright as the morning glow and as bright as red jade. But soon, the red color in her eyes faded. Not for anything else. The feeling of those hands around her was too familiar. Luo Qingtong's eyes rolled, and then, as if she didn't know anything, she suddenly shouted in a low voice. Who? Who is it? How dare you break into my room? As she spoke, her body suddenly leaned back, and her head bumped into the man who appeared behind her. At the same time, she raised her right foot and kicked back. Bang! Luo Qingtong's foot was blocked by Yi Qianxian's raised leg. At the same time, he tilted his head to the side, avoiding the back of Luo Qingtong's head. He felt a burst of anger in his heart. This woman actually used her head to hit people. What if she was hurt? Yi Qianxian raised his leg and hooked Luo Qingtong's back leg. He fiercely pressed her down, and was about to take her to the bed. However, Luo Qingtong had already broken free from his arms at this time. Swish! With a wave of her sleeve, the bright lights in the room suddenly all went out. In the dark room, only the faint starlight and moonlight through the window edge could be seen. In such a dim light, Luo Qingtong's red dress was like a stream of light, sweeping towards the man behind her. Bang, bang, bang! The two of them exchanged blows in the room. Because he couldn't hurt her, Yi Qianxian suppressed his strength, completely restraining the wild and fierce aura in his body. He only used his physical strength to fight Luo Qingtong. Feeling the aura around the man, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She licked her lips, and then fiercely used all her strength and fighting experience to attack Yi Qianxian. She wanted to see how far the gap between her and this man's strength was in this state. Bang, bang, bang. The two of them flew in the room. Both of them held back their strength. Yi Qianxian didn't use his real strength, and Luo Qingtong didn't use her bloody eyes and life and death sword. The two of them flew back and forth in the room, completely relying on their own strength to fight. Bang! Luo Qingtong's figure and Yi Qianxian's body. Her body suddenly climbed up the beam in the room, and then, like a snake, she shot out from under the beam. Bang! Yi Qianxian took her move. But his body was suddenly pulled back by the resistance of Luo Qingtong's sudden rush and fell back on the bed. Boom! Luo Qingtong's body suddenly flipped and sat on the man's body. Caught, you, Luo Qingtong said. Sitting on Yi Qianxian's body, Luo Qingtong put her hand in the middle of the man's black hair, leaned over, and kissed the man's thin and sexy lips. Yi Qianxian's hand was holding Luo Qingtong's waist, and he was about to get her off his body. Chapter 900. You seductress. The two people's lips separated after a deep kiss. The corners of their lips were still stained with the two people's liquid. After the two people's lips separated, a long, ambiguous silver thread was drawn out. It looked indescribably lively and very ambiguous. Does the Lord like a seductress like me? Luo Qingtong leaned over Yi Qianxian's chest, listening to the man's intense heartbeat. The curve of her lips was seductive. She raised her hand and gently stroked on the man's chest skin that was exposed under the clothes that she tore open. Yi Qianxian really couldn't bear it this time. His eyes were bloodshot. The next second, the hand that was holding Luo Qingtong's slender waist suddenly exerted force, pressing the person under his body. Oh no! Looking at the man's eyes that seemed to be burning with hot flames, wanting to burn her and him into flames, Luo Qingtong suddenly spat out her tongue. Played too much. She twisted her body. The moment Yi Qianxian turned over and pressed her under his body, she rolled to the side and wrapped herself and the bedding next to her into a thick, round ball. Yi Qianxian looked at this scene, his lungs were about to explode. Come out. He looked at the girl who was wrapped like a silkworm baby, only showing her head, and coldly said. Don't come out, just don't come out. Luo Qingtong listened to his voice that was a few pitches lower than usual. How could she be willing to come out? If she came out, wouldn't the little cutie fall into the big devil's claws and be eaten until there was nothing left? She said so, wrapping her small quilt even tighter. Looking at her wrapped like a ball and rolling around while talking, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth. This woman. His heart was a knot of anger. Then he hugged the person together with the quilt in his arms and coldly asked, What's the matter with you, Si Huang? When I wasn't here, how many people did you provoke? Who else could it be? Without the warm and fragrant woman in his arms, Yi Qianxian's rationality returned. He finally remembered why he had come here. This woman, in the time that he hadn't been in the true Spill continent, just how many people had she provoked? Other than Yu Si Huang, was there anyone else? Yi Qianxian felt a burst of anger when he thought about how this woman had interacted with another man in a place he didn't know about. She even made the other man come to the Black Field to look for her, saying that he had fallen in love with her, and even asked him to help find her and fulfill her wish. He suddenly leaned over and fiercely bit the girl's tender lips. Luo Qingtong was confused by his question for a while. She didn't react for a while and was bitten by him. She hissed softly. Before she could make a sound, Yi Qianxian angrily sucked on her lips again and kissed her deeply. Oh! Luo Qingtong was kissed by him until she couldn't breathe. At this time, she was in a miserable situation. She had wrapped herself up, and even her hands and feet were wrapped up. She couldn't even fight back, okay? This was simply a self-inflicted disaster. Luo Qingtong raised her head and endured Yi Qianxian's kiss. After a while, the man released her. She gasped for breath and said, "Wait a minute, even if you want to die, you have to let me know why. Who is Yu Sihuang?" Luo Qingtong felt that this was simply an undeserved disaster. She didn't have any impression of this name at all. What was there to provoke? Besides this man, when did she provoke anyone else? Did she even have a chance? You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.